Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 130, and we're delighted to be joined by Christian Iddon. First of all, congratulations on putting a ring on it recently. It was a lovely do, and obviously it's officially welcome to the Northeast. It's like married into the Northeast family. Innit?
Yeah, you've got me now. We had a mega wedding. It's hard doing outside of. Well, it's been redone twice because of COVID, and then trying to organise it outside of a race season's hard as well. So, yeah, it was just after the last round and we got mint weather, had a great day, flipping loads of cool people, mega party. I got absolutely...
Good dancing.
Yeah. Did you see my dancing?
Never stopped from when I walked in until I left.
I checked my watch the day after and from 8:30 at night until midnight I did 35,000 steps.
Yeah.
That is some savage dancing, that mine, 100%.
I had a few people thought I was on some gear because, I'm the person who's never touched a single drug in my life. I absolutely what's it, but I'm just a happy drunk. So, do you know what? I don't drink very much, but I'm a happy drunk, and I also know when to stop. So I'm really good at getting to a point and then stopping. So people who've never seen me like that, like most of the team were there, and obviously see me as a really straight cut sort of don't say a lot, really introverted, there was me dancing around like an idiot. Because it was my own wedding, I did keep my clothes on because sometimes that does go the wrong way. I have got a tendency to get a bit naked.
I tell you what, I don't know how that conversation came about now. It feels like a blur, but before the show started, we were talking about, do you go out for a few drinks and stuff like that? And to begin with, you actually went, yeah, I probably save it up for once every 2 years. I fully understand now why you save it for 2 years. Some flash nudity here. There we go. It's got to be done. But I've got to ask the first question of the evening. Everyone will be asking you, how much did the wedding cost you then?
Do you know what? It's not cheap, is it? Everything that you do, it's price plus a bit.
Times a bit. I think.
It's when you go to BSB and you have a BSB burger, it's the same as any other burger, about £4 more. It's like that. But even worse, it's a wedding burger, which is 10 times more. So you're you're just going to, we'll feed our guests a little bit. Oh, it's £50 a head. What? You're
was it actually £50 a head?
It was, I think, something like that. I wasn't fully involved in the ins and outs, but it adds up quite quickly.
My God, because I was about to say, because you were discussing where the venue was up in North East here, and you were saying you had to get a venue big enough to host all your friends. How many people were you at your wedding?
We had in the daytime. We were trying to keep it low key as much as we could, but now these things grow, don't they? It's hard.
Of course they do.
In the daytime, we had 102 people, I think, for the day and the meals, and then in the night, I think we had 180, 190 people. So it kicked off big time. It was a proper party. It was
fair play.
I mean, Nicola did almost all of the organisation. I had very little involvement in it, but she's got. She's done a couple of balls for the MND Association, which she has an involvement with.
All right.
So she knows how to put on a party. So we had, honestly, we had a singer, we had a band, we had a DJ, we had a saxophonist who was absolutely mint. It was like a mini Glastonbury on Hadrian's Wall. Basically, it was a proper do. I really enjoyed the day. I think she did.
She had a horse at some point. I've seen pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
Was that on the wedding day?
Yeah. So she wanted the horse to be involved. So she keeps her horse just literally a stone's throw away from where the church is. So one of her mates came and brought the horse down.
Were you tempted not to have your Ducati there as well?
Do you know what? We'd had a conversation about getting the race bike down, but I think they were still fixing it after I'd got rear-ended the week before. So I never got to get it down. I would have quite liked to have ridden it from there up to the venue, because the church and the venue are in different places, so it would have been quite nice to have ridden it up there. But
do you have your a road license?
I've got a road license.
Yeah, I've got a road license.
Yeah, but I don't ride on the road though. I've never, apart from doing my test, I've never ridden on the road.
So why did you go down the test avenue then?
Because someone said they'd do it me for free, and like a freebie.
You corporate whore.
No,
good man.
Because I thought it's a good thing to have. At the time, I knew I wasn't going to use it at the time, but once you've got it, haven't you? So I was like, oh, Yeah, I'll do it. And
The one time you're going to use it on the Wednesday and the bike's knackered. Damn it.
We will sort of run through the season in order, but obviously you've just mentioned that crash at Brands, and I bet after Nicola delayed the wedding twice with COVID, and then I bet when she was watching that race live and she's seen you go backwards, like you must have been about 12 foot in the air backwards at like 100 miles an hour. And obviously with it going downhill as well, it's like it's even a bigger drop, and then somersaulting backwards into the barrier followed by your bike. I bet you thought like it might be getting delayed again.
Like, honestly, that's the biggest crash I've ever had in terms of like magnitude of a crash.
Jesus.
Like last lap of the last race of the series, like long and short of it's how I feel like my championship's gone. But like you tipping into podium position, tipping into the first corner on the last lap, and then next thing I knew I was like up in the air upside down. And you boys know what it's like. I was up in the air upside down. I had time to think like, oh man, and I was still thinking it, and then I'm still thinking it, and I've not hit the ground yet. Like it was, everything goes slow motion, doesn't it? And it was just massive. And I waited for the thud.
bigger the crash, the slower it goes.
Oh yeah, and I waited for the thud, and it just. But I think what was worse about it is because you boys know what it's like when you have a crash, and you can almost manage a crash. You almost get good at crashing. Not that you want to get good at crashing, but you can sort of, what's coming.
You prepare yourself.
Yeah, you start to lose the front or you start to lose the rear, and you know what's sort of coming next. That one, I just got T-boned from behind, and then literally the first thing I knew was like the back end had locked solid, and then I was just first one.
45 minutes in.
And then I was just upside down. And I was just,
Quite honestly, like that was it is horrendous. I'll get my sister to put like a little clip in so people can.
Yeah, well,
watch
it wasn't shown fully on TV, but they showed the onboards afterwards. I put some of the stills up on my socials.
Yeah, I seen that on Instagram. And for people that have, like, say, done a track day or club racing at Brands Hatch, Paddock Hill Bend's one of the scariest corners to, like, sort of get to. In terms of your first lap around any track, I would say Paddock Hill Bend's up there with one of the scariest ones. I actually know someone that actually did a shit in the leathers the first time they went down Paddock Hill Bend. So just to give it some context, right? I won't name and shame her, but I do know somebody that.
Have you ever done that?
No.
I have.
In your leathers?
Yeah, in my leathers. Yeah.
Have you? When?
And that's what it takes, kids, to be British front runner. That's what it takes.
Donington Park. When I was on the Tyco BMW qualifying.
Out of nerves, or you just had to go and you didn't have time?
No, because I hit the ground that hard. And I popped a plop out.
Really?
Jesus, man.
But I didn't know, so this is the worst thing. So I had a massive... It was in qualifying. I remember Hector Barbara, who's the world's worst caravan, was trying to get a tow. And he proper annoyed me, so I slowed up. Oh, honestly, he just hitches on, puts his flipping special cable on, and away you go. Do you know what? He's that daft, right? He gets a tow. And then because he's really fast, he then passes you, and then forgets that he was actually trying to get a tow, and then so he passes you on a qualifying lap going really fast, and then gets lost and slows right up. He's an absolute dingbat. Anyway, yeah. So he got him away. So I was completely offline, and I don't know what happened, but I was just offline on the inside, coming onto the back straight at Donington, and it just flipping pinged me up in the air, slapped me down. It's the first time I'd used the airbag suit, or the first time that I'd had to use the airbag suit. Went off, big old hit. I was glad of the airbag, sort of trudged off, and that was fine. And then actually the Alpine Stars guy was there that weekend. So I went back to the caravan, and he's like, oh yeah, the airbag. I said, yeah, the airbag's mint, and this, that, and the other. And you're like... Sat in the caravan, it's a small area, isn't it? There's like 3 or 4 of us in there. Something's a bit...
This airbag's a bit smelly.
No, son. And I was sat there, like you sort of take your leathers half down, don't you? So I was half out my leathers, but still sat in it. And it didn't feel any squidge or anything, but like, you just kept getting a whiff of something a bit wrong. So, but I stayed in my kit for about an hour afterwards, having a cup of tea and all this stuff.
At what point did you start judging other people in the caravan gang?
Well, you just think there's something going. You think it wasn't. Yeah, till I got properly changed, I realised what had happened.
Do you know this? Well, yeah. So going back to Paddy Kilbend, yeah, it's as you approach it.
Someone made that like totally classy. Like, yeah, it just happened. Like, and we're just both sitting here going, fair enough, mate. Like, he literally shot himself.
As you approach,
God,
along the start finish straight on a Superbike, you'll be doing about 170, and then just as you get over the line, hard on the brakes, and you can't see where you're going. It's just completely blind. You've kind of got your reference point, so you know where to be, but the actual track you can't see. You know that you're going to be going downhill, steep, and so as you're tipping in there to get rear-ended and then go flying up in the air backwards, going back into the gravel, it's like, yeah. Injuries wise, did you? I presume you must have been knocked out or something. Were you?
No, I wasn't. Really weird one actually, because I felt really groggy. I remember all of it. I wasn't knocked out. Definitely wasn't knocked out. There's no proper impact marks to my helmet. There's a bit of gravel touch, but nothing major, because it was like a really important helmet to me, so I was glad it wasn't marked.
Why is that then? Sorry.
Oh, it's just my granddad had passed away, and it was just one that I had another one done just with all these little bits on it.
Yeah.
So it was just like you have different. All my helmets are different designs, and that one was just like this most special one this year. So
because the like Paint Nation do yours.
Yeah.
I saw that on social media. That is.
it was a real nice job. I mean, Paint Nation does some mint ones, but that one was a bit more special as well. So yeah, never touched my head, but I was been super groggy from it, and I rung my bell without ringing my bell.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still struggling a little bit with my neck. Not struggling, but yeah, I can feel that it doesn't turn the same as it did. I think it's just like a bit of a whiplash type thing.
Jesus, well, because how bloody hell, feels like forever ago since we were last on
It's a month ago,
bikes.
isn't it? I think just over. I mean, I broke me a bone in my hand, but nothing major, nothing. I proper got away with it, like 100% got away with it.
Jesus, well.
Bit of a random one, but do you have insurance for crashes or not, like brakes?
No.
No, me neither. Now, well, no, I do. I have it for brakes, and I've looked into getting because what you want is to be fixed up. That's what you need insurance for.
Yeah. What, like, as in private healthcare?
Yeah, but like I've got private healthcare, but they don't cover me for anything sports related, so I basically don't have private healthcare.
Really?
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Which I
I'm
clearly
glad
found out after I phoned them up, having paying them £1,000 a year for the last 10 years, whatever it is.
Right.
Can you walk us through, like, literally, right, I've broke my hand, how have you done it? Sport injury. Oh, sorry, Mr. Iddon.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're not getting any of your money back.
Yeah, pretty much.
So a part of hindsight would have been, I fell down the stairs. Oh, champion, get your selling.
Yeah.
I've just fallen down the stairs.
I think
Come get me.
I think they still look into it, because like when you say I fell down the stairs and they go injury report Brands Hatch, and this sort of, which set of stairs did you fall down?
Bloody hell.
The ones at Park Firm.
I got pushed very fast.
No, I think they look into it pretty good. So,
when you think
I think it's quite hard to get sporting insurances.
Yeah. Well, do you know when you think of private healthcare insurance? Like, I haven't really looked into it and like the prices for it. But do you know if you get the whole budget of the NHS and divide it up by the number of people in the country?
We're going to get deep here. This is going to go.
It's
great.
It costs.
I completely agree with you. Right, what you're about to say.
It costs everyone. I think it's about £3,500. But the kids, like every single person, £3,500. But there's a stat where something like you use something like 90% in the last like 1% of your life or 2% of your life.
Right.
So you're paying like so every year, you know, like by the time you're 10-year-old, you've paid like say 30 or 35 grand in. You haven't, do you know what I mean? You haven't paid but like your sort of share. But then obviously if you get cancer in the last few years of your life, they'll spend hundreds of thousands on you. So it's like, but yeah, it's in terms of private healthcare, if you were going to pay it, if it's got to be like a few grand. I've never looked into it, but I presume it would be like a good few grand a year.
But being a bit political, I do think like if you decided I'm going to pay for private healthcare and not pay me taxes that go towards national healthcare, like, would you be better off than not? Anyway, it's a bit deep, but no, but you know what I mean? Like, how much care would you get? They do a great job, like the NHS and stuff, but we're after something that's frowned upon. If you could turn up, you know, like at self-inflicted in it, you know, like. And you want to get seen quickly, and you want different sort of. You're not like 90-year-old Sheila who's had a fall and basically only wants to be able to sit back in a chair and read a paper. You want to be back to optimum It's a different sort of, and the rehab time you want is quicker. So it's a different sort of healthcare that you're after, is what I mean.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I'm sure if there was if like I said, it all comes down to the prices. But I'm sure most people that race bikes would be happy to pay more, a little bit more, but for that more specific care. The thing, healthcare in this country is very much potluck where you live. From crashing at different tracks in the country, I've had like the range of experiences. I've had like unbelievable care. I've had a few operations where like I couldn't, if I was paying, like if it was private healthcare, I couldn't have asked for any more than what I got. And I've also had like horrendous experiences, which is like, so yeah, it's very much like luck of the draw where you live, really.
That's also who, like I've built an extension for a surgeon, and now he gets me in quite quickly, like it's obviously
he's watching
the extension's still up and it's fine, works out all right. But you know what I mean? If you know someone in
the right places,
there's considerable queues. If you can skip it a little bit because you know the dude at the front, makes a difference.
Yeah.
Love it. Have you got like sport? Do
you know what? There's people that come around the paddock and offer the health.
Always just before qualifying. Honestly, there's a fella, not naming any names, that does the rounds, and I swear, because I hate qualifying. Do you like qualifying? You don't mind it?
I'm more of a race. I'm a Sunday man, really.
No, I'm not a qualifier. Definitely.
So I'm not a qualifier, and I just know that you've just done a day and a half of trying to go as fast as you can. You're about to go out and do a 10-minute session where you've got to go even faster by probably about a second. Your balls have been hanging out all weekend. Now you've got to go and do it even more. And round the corner goes, have you ever thought what it's like if you crash? How are you going to pay your bills? I'm like, dude, I'm about to put my helmet on to go qualifying. I'm probably going to crash, but I didn't think about my bills. Why have you done this to me? Then he goes, Iddon, P17 or something.
Yeah. I wonder if it's one of the other teams just going, can you do us a favour, put that act on again and just go have a word with Iddon
But there definitely is a guy that definitely picks his moments incredibly well.
I have heard some right horror stories about that, though. Now, that's a problem.
Healthcare?
No. Like, basically, I know lads who have taken out policies, for the sport injury, absolutely spanned themselves and haven't got a penny out of it.
Really?
Mm.
Well,
now, like I say, I'm never going to name names, but you think, well,
do you know the people that the
50 quid a month's a lot of money?
People that come around the paddock and offer these deals. I once signed up to one with a company a good few years ago, and I read through the sheets and I just thought they've massively priced this wrong, because it was something like £14 a month or £15 a month. But like if you like broke a metacarpal, it was 1,500 quid. If you broke it was 750.
Yeah.
But like you can do a few of them at a time, easy. If you broke like a decent bone, it was like
a decent bone. I love how like we're all like, yeah, that's not a proper bone.
It was like 10 grand for this. It was like 1,500 quid for a dislocation. So I'm thinking £15 a month. That's so.
I'll get that back really quickly.
Yeah, like that's 180 quid a year, and like you're almost guaranteed to at least break a little bone. So I did it for like a few years, and like so I must have paid like over the couple of years I must have paid about 200 or 300 quid in, and I had about 5 grand back off them. And then I got a letter through the door saying your policy is now changing, and they'd put like a so I cancelled it. But I just thought like 15 quid a month's like a bargain. You're like
in this sport,
take a hammer to yourself at the end of the year.
It's almost like a wage. You basically took out a wage.
More or less.
It's like a performance bonus, but the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
A wooden spoon and you commit
subsidy.
To it. Jesus, when fucking...
Anyway, well, let's go through the season. Obviously, when was the last time you were on the pod? Was it before the season started?
I think it was, wasn't it?
Must have been.
It's been on it that many times.
It's in life number 5, isn't it?
It is number 5, but I don't think you've been on since the season started. I think the last one was like looking into the season.
We spoke about it last time, but when does the retainer start? Like, is it number 5 or 6? Like,
we'll say from episode 7.
Don't put numbers into it. You hold us to it, man. You know what I mean? It'll be literally like that. Going, we need it all back. Just pay him. Just get it paid. Just get it paid.
But, yeah. So going into the season, the So was it you finished third last year, didn't you? The year before,
yeah.
And so a good pre-season and everything, and proper hit the ground running pre-season testing. First few rounds, you're like, it was basically you and Jason, wasn't it? First round, let's go from the first round at Alton. You led like nearly all the laps and just got pipped in every
3
race,
times.
didn't you?
I know. I listened to Jason's pod, going, "Oh God." He was so happy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was on fire at the beginning of the season.
Sorry.
He was on fire at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Amazing. Used to with like the cream, but then he was just had that like
creamier.
Yeah, creamier. He had the whipped cream on top. Really.
Can you describe his performance? Creamier.
But you must have been happy with the start of the season, like.
Yeah. Honestly, like we'd gone through pre-season, we didn't have anything new for the bike. I don't think many people did because of obviously everything that was going on. So it wasn't many development bits or anything. We had exactly the same stuff. The only thing that changed for me was we put a different link in, and it just really changed not how quick I could go, but just how constant I could be with it. So all through pre-season, I knew I was in a good place, which was kind of odd because I was never really super quick or up there in the times, but I was doing it on like really old sets of tyres and just not losing any pace. And it just builds your confidence. And I like really didn't care that I wasn't like in the top 5 or 6 because I knew
what you could do.
Yeah. And got to round 1 and pretty much it happened apart from I got beaten every race, but it was, I was there, to finish second 3 times at the first round of a championship is spot on. Like, it's almost as good as it gets within reason. I led every race up to basically the last lap on the last 2 days. I think I led, there were 18 lap races on Sunday or something and 15 lappers on the, so I led 10 laps of the first one and 17 and a half of the 2 on Sunday or whatever it was. So I led pretty much every lap, which again is a confidence inspiring thing because to lead you've got to feel comfy, and I felt I was doing the pace and comfy, like I wasn't pulled apart to do it. I know I got beaten, but like I was in that sort of happy place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good start.
How shocked were you by the Yamaha? See, the year before that, for me, I think Yamaha's dominance is throughout all the classes everywhere, and it's so clear at the latter part of the season, when all the results are coming out on the table and everything like that. But at that point, was that a shock, to be blunt?
What was a shock was, so the first race on the Sunday, so race 2 of the season, I led all the race.
Yeah.
And my bike is so strong on the brakes, like it is just a weapon. That Ducati is fantastic on the brakes. Came out of Druids, which is the second last corner, coming up to the last corner at Ulm, which is a heavy brake zone. Absolutely my bread and butter. There's no way that anyone's going to pass me, and if they do, they're never going to make the corner.
Yeah.
And then a bike comes up the inside of me and parks it beautifully, as if he was on, a normal lap. And I was just like, just in shock and awe at the same time. Like,
it didn't look like it should. It
shouldn't have happened. The pace that he came up the inside of me, I'd already come in hot and deep as a normal last lap you would. And I was struggling to make the corner as is. And he came up the inside and just stopped it, and amazing.
Yeah.
Really. And then I thought, yeah, they've got something. And then the next race, to be fair, I think Jason actually, yes, I led for nearly the whole race, but I think he was managing it. Like, I'm pretty sure he just sat behind me. We were away. There was just sort of us two by then. And I think he knew that he could sort of pick me off, not at will, but more or less.
Yeah. In terms of minimising risk, it was safer to let you lead the whole thing and then do it at the end.
Yeah.
In terms of tactics, like, you've got to give it to Jason. He was like bang on the first round.
Mega.
It's not just that, but when you normally on the telly, you don't really get a true justification of what actually is happening in real life. Really, you go down a straight, you wait till you see Jesus, then you hop on the brakes. That's essentially how you do it properly. Yeah. But when you look at that footage and the photographers taking slows of it, he was beyond the edge of crashing. And the pair of you're fully on the stops, bottom of the stroke, wheels in the back. He was like, so it was top racking it into the turn.
Well, exactly. If we're going to go for what do I think's different or good about the Yamaha this year, because obviously motor racing is different to most other sports because what we sit on is so important. So, do you know what I mean? A rider can make a big difference, but you still need the package underneath you. And certain bikes allow you to do different things. So, like when I jumped on the Ducati, there were certain things I was able to do on it that I wasn't able to do on BM from the years previous.
Exactly, yeah.
it's not that I suddenly got better on the brakes, just
Yeah.
it allowed me to do it. What it seems like the Yamaha is amazing at this year, again from an outside, because I've never ridden one, so I don't know, is just an ability to brake hard and start to make the tip in on the brakes, which is not usually a big Pirelli thing, because they don't like hard brakes and lean angle. But if you watch what Jason was able to do, Taz was able to do, Toprak's able to do, they can brake very hard into the apex, and then it doesn't seem to unsettle the bike once they then release the brake. It's like there's no entry phase to mid phase that changes. It's like the suspension sort of stays so fluid at that point. Again, don't know because I've not ridden one, but that's what it feels like when you're riding it.
But even looking at it, you can just see that. Like, Toprak just seems to be, like, absolutely pissing around playing with it. When do we see Jonathan Ray crash?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This is the first year he's been properly challenged in, 6 years? You know what I mean?
The other thing as well is when you see them pass other riders, even when I've watched this year Taz and Jason racing each other, and they still never run wide. Like they...
No, it looks clean. It looks unbelievably clean.
They go in, like, I know, we all know what it's like. You're racing at the limit, aren't you? Like you said, you see Jesus, you brake, whatever it is. But so when you go to pass someone, it's you go in pushing the envelope, and often you blow the corner by a foot or 2 foot, and you just try and take the other guy out enough so that they don't pass you back.
Yeah.
What it appears is that them boys are able to do that, but then still make that turn. It seems to just take that turning phase so well.
It's like the engine brake, and as the tip in and the tyre changes, it's as if they've got that like.
But I think it starts before that. From what I can see, it looks like it starts as if you watch how much brake they can pull deep into a corner. I think that makes a big difference.
So I was about to say, because you can get all the telemetry in the world, you can watch it from an outside, but unfortunately, twice you saw that.
I did.
I mean, you couldn't, like, the only other person that saw that was Jason himself. And that's incredible because really the chassis, I make it sound like a part of Yamaha here, but like there hasn't been a significant change in the chassis. But
well, you don't need significant changes, do you? We're at a point where I think bikes are so good, and it's not. There's no real revolutionary things coming out. There hasn't been for a while.
But like you say, that the packages are so massively different. Like your Ducati is the engine with a front bolted onto the engine and the rear bolted onto the engine. You're thinking, who the fuck? Only the Italians can come up with pornographic like that. But then the Yamaha is in a sit-in chassis, and you think, how the flaming bollocks they can make so many different single swing arms to make work.
Do you know, in terms of, I'm kind of thinking back to that time, obviously there was the big talking point that Brooksy didn't start the season anywhere near as good as what anyone was kind of expecting. And also Bridewell is an Alton Park source, bit of a specialist, and he wasn't really on yours and Jason's wavelength at the first round. And then we're seeing later on in the season, he was
incredible.
Yeah, like that race that was at Alton Park, wasn't it, when he cleared off?
Yeah.
That was like the most dominant display I've seen in BSB for like a long, long time.
4 or 5 years, I think, in a normal race. Do you know what's even more different is because by race 3, normally everyone's absolutely up to pace and on the money.
Everyone's got their setups.
You've got more chance of doing that in race 1, where someone's not looked into the right setting, but they've felt good out of the box and gone. But by race 3 to do that it's got to take my hat off to him for that. I don't like to, but that was impressive.
When you think from
dry,
when you think
in the dry,
first round to like in the same season, same bikes, things like the changes to the orders, like craziness.
Yeah, big time. That was impressive.
He must be battering his head against a wall though. In the same breath, it's a bit like that sheer inner belief you have, like, look what I did. To actually record that for history to repeat itself. You must have gone home and gone, why can't I do that every week? You know what I mean, though? It's like, because once you've pulled something
But that's the racing conundrum, innit?
Of course.
And when it's easy, it's easy. Like, I'm sure he got off that race and thought, I could probably go even faster, because that's what happens. When you set a fast lap or a good race, you feel
invincible.
Yeah, like you could do it and some. But it's not true, but it's how you feel.
It's crazy. And obviously Brooksy at the beginning of the season, there was like massive everyone was talking about it, wasn't it? It was one of the biggest talking points that the reigning champion didn't start very strong. What was it like from like inside the team?
Fine for me.
Was it?
What are you asking me?
Well, it's like,
are you digging?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah, like say being in like everyone's sort of talking and saying, "I wonder what it's things," but you were actually like inside the garage to like see it firsthand. Did it? It must have been a bit odd.
Yeah, like I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk too much about someone else. I don't think I think it's unfair. Like unless you hear it from his point of view, like I can only see it again from the outside. It's a closer outside because I'm in the same garage. But you know, Josh never lost any self-belief throughout it. He was adamant that it was the bike that was the problem.
I did hear there was a bloke trying to sell him insurance before he went out every time.
I kept sending him around. I said, go and ask me, mate.
That's it. He's begging for
over
it
there.
over that. He's getting... Sorry.
No, so, you know, Josh was always completely adamant that it was the bike and not him. You know, he reverted back to identical settings from the year before, and that didn't make any better. And we got to the point where we actually we went and did a test and swapped bikes, which was of no benefit to me. I actually wish I hadn't ridden Josh's bike because there was certain things that I preferred about his.
Right.
You know, like sometimes if you try something different, you then go, oh, that's something better. You can't sort of mix the two because obviously yours is better in places because it's set up in a certain way and his was better in certain places because it was set up a different way, but you can't have it all. So I kind of wish I'd never done that. That,
yet again, was... You must bat your head against the wall sometimes. Think,
yeah,
well, I can't have it all. You know, no. I mean,
I wish I had. There were certain bits that his bike did a little bit better than mine. Not loads better, but it just felt a bit better.
Yeah.
So the team were really supportive from what I saw. Surprisingly, almost even to me, you know, they really gave him, from what I saw, absolute full commitment to righting any issues and never seemed to second guess him, and you know. Gave him everything. I think that he, you know, he was British champion at the end of the day. You know, he deserves the what happened. I don't know why. You know why he lost his form in that way. I'm really not sure. But
he did come on pretty strong at the end of the season, didn't he?
He came back strong, but not in Josh Brooks strong.
Yeah, but he didn't dominate like he has.
Yeah,
done in the
that's
past.
what I mean. You know, like you know, he's.
But you wouldn't say back to his best, but back to somewhere close.
Yeah, back somewhere where he sort of should be, but not where he really should be because he had the number one plate. That was another thing that they decided to change. You know, the number one plate they thought was possibly heavy.
Yeah.
No, you know, it's a big. I don't know.
Of course it is. That was what.
Did that make a difference to him? Do you think?
I don't think so. No. I don't know, but I don't think so. The time that they did it, nothing seemed to change.
Yeah. We'll have to get Josh back on. Hear it from it. I know what you mean. It's just because you're in the garage doesn't mean like you've got that much more than like insight to what's going on than us.
Well, the other thing I don't want to badmouth another rider or some. It's not my place to say. Yeah. To say that would be unfair because I don't know the exact situation.
Yeah. I
do know that from what he said to me, he felt like he was pushing it to as hard as he's pushed it when he's been winning. So to him, it was really confusing as to why he wasn't winning, sometimes even struggling to get in the points, you know, and he said at that pace I feel like I'm on the ragged edge, and you know, and he was fully of the opinion that when it comes back good he'll be back at the front.
It is a mad sport, mine, isn't it? Do you know when you think of it's like things like that go on? And
I mean, we've not seen that sort of thing since Keogh, so we've not seen that for about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Keogh, you almost came to accept that kind of fluctuation in results, but Josh has always been known for being completely just like always there, you know, no matter what. He's the guy that always pulls a result out, and it sort of just was contrary to that. And what was funny is because the very first round at Alton, he was like in the group-ish. I think he was like 6th or 7th, something like that. And then you think, oh, well, he's good at the next round. And then, you know, you think, well, he's really good at the next round. Then when we got to Brands, I think that's when the penny dropped for me fully that he is struggling. You know, when we got to the first Brands round and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He's the king of Brands now. Now that Shakey's gone, Josh has got a record that's unrivaled. So when we got there and he still wasn't in the mix, and it's like, okay.
Like even when Redden won the championship, Josh did the triple that weekend.
Yeah.
It's like a machine.
Yeah.
And there's been times when, like, say we've turned up at Alton, and from FP1 he's like in years gone by, and from FP1 he's just been like a machine, and like you just know he's going to win the races.
And for me, from a personal perspective, I almost started to want him to do well. Like at first I didn't mind that he was behind, and then at the point when he was struggling probably at his most, I was like, there's no point me beating him, but I'm not actually beating the Josh Brooks.
Yeah,
You know, like
he's not at his best.
he's not at his best, so I can't really chalk it up as a.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. I tell you what, I'm glad you brought up the number one thing. You know, the heaviness of the number one. And he changed that mid-season. You know, do you like? I'm gonna come out and say it. Do you wish you changed your number or?
No, not at all.
You just the number one thing didn't phase you because I tell you what, my granddad is horrendously superstitious. Same with my uncle, but then the rest of the family aren't. And you just think immediately, there's just two total different comparisons on that. So it was interesting that you changed it. So there must be a little bit of a superstitious element of that. I don't know. I don't know the fella well enough to go, oh, you're superstitious. You know, but
I don't know if he changed it or if the team changed it. But, you know, like, Flip, you spend hundreds of thousands of pounds changing bits on bikes. I mean, it's stickers, what? 5p? You might as well have a go.
Yeah,
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. It's just that element, isn't it?
But I'm glad he ran it. I'm glad you ran yours.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I like.
It's a touch of class.
Yeah, you know, like we've got it again next year in MotoGP that it's not going to have the number one plate. Quattro is going to keep his number.
Is he?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So
Obviously, Joan Mir kept his number this year with a bit of a one in it and stuff like that. But I don't know. Personally, I just think you work all your life for achieving something like that. You know, like you stick that thing on your bike. So what if you're a target? You're a target because you're great. You know, like you must have felt proud, you Chrissy, having that when it wheels out of pit lane. You know, you got that one on. Like
it's like I say, it's
proper.
You work hard for it, don't you? And if you don't know. Obviously, you would hope that it's not the only chance in your career that you're going to run it, but being realistic, you know that it might be. It is a possibility. So it's like it's not that many people get a chance to do it. So it's like I've seen it as like an honor, and like it was
brilliant.
Yeah, it's I definitely don't. I know I've had a terrible season, but I don't regret it, and I don't.
It wasn't a cause.
I don't feel like that anyway. Going back to round one, fantastic. Round two, did you get your first race win? Round two.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Was that Knockhill?
Knockhill was round two. Won the first race. Mint. So I've done 3 lots of second and then a win. So job's a dream. Led the championship from there. Mm-hmm. I had a bit of a more difficult day on the Sunday, but just got done over a little bit really in the races. Finished. The final race got red flagged and had got punted off track the lap before it got red flagged. Got myself back into a podium place, but it went back a lap to the point that I'd got punted. So
I remember that.
Kind of just dropped me down, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Brands was the next one. Got another win there, another podium, still leading the championship. And then went to Thruxton, and that's pretty much where it all started to go wrong for me, big time. Mm-hmm. I was dead nervous actually going to Thruxton because I love the place. I think it's brilliant. Never struggle for pace. I can put a lap in, no bother, but I've never had a result there. It's just never liked me, just for 1,000,001 reasons. I've never had a result. And that's the first time I've been there on the Ducati, and I was like, how are we going to fare?
Because there wouldn't have been any testing whatsoever.
No, they don't. I mean, that's the good thing because nobody tests there, so it's not like you're in the same boat.
Unless you're on a previous bike from last year, kind of thing. Yes,
Yeah. So, finished second in the first race, and I was just like, I've come to the worst track for me that I thought was going to be the worst track. Got on the podium in the first race. And it was funny because I was in Park Ferme afterwards, like collecting the trophy and on the podium, whatever. And I'm like, this is my year. I cannot do anything wrong. Literally, I've turned up to this track, which I was honestly, I was nervous about going to. I was like, got to save a tyre, can't push it. I've struggled there before. Why? How's the Ducati going to be? And this, that, and the other. I got on the podium. I'm like, it's my year. Even when it's stacked against us, I can get a podium. And then the very next race, I got collected by Lee Jackson. And he completely didn't mean to, poor lad. He felt bad about it. When you take down anyone, it's bad. When you take down the championship leader, I think you feel a little bit even worse.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'd ever fallen off the Ducati. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Do you know, the last few podcasts we've done with you, I've known that that's running, like a running thing, because I was on the same thing last year. But it's one of them that even if you're
Yeah,
superstitious
because you
or
never
not,
went down, did you, on that one?
no, if you're superstitious or not, you just don't talk about it. It's one of those things. So like,
Don't bring it up.
I knew you were on that run, but I didn't want to bring it up because I thought but yeah, once and then it's not your fault. But when you go down, but it's kind of you did like,
Yeah.
That's a lovely streak to be on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hadn't realised how long it had been. It was something like, I think, because Whittam told me on the grid the next race, and it was something like 33 consecutive races finishing. But like I said, what most people didn't realise is that I'd never fallen off the Ducati at all, not in a single test, not in a, I'd been out the first year that I signed up for PBM. I went and took a bike out for, nearly a month and out in Spain, and, never fell off anything. I mean, I've been flipping close. I've been through the screen a few times and, like all sorts of things, hit a few barriers, but never actually hit the deck. Mm-hmm. So it was like, it wasn't a bad crash, but I was a bit battered. That the tarmac at Thruxton's
very abrasive.
Flipping so abrasive. It went clean through the side of my boot. I was lucky that it didn't go any further because I was sort of under the bike.
Do you know Glenn crashed at about 160 and he literally like stopped straight away because it's that grippy.
Oh, it's so abrasive.
Obviously it like absolutely like smokes the tyres, but like if you crash on it, I mean a few times I've crashed and it just rips your leathers open.
Yes,
abrasive.
Oh, yeah. It's a completely different sort of tarmac that you've never. I don't know. I don't even know how you describe it.
And yet it's so drifty as a track, is it?
Yeah, I think it's just the speed element of it, though. Yeah,
it's crazy grippy in the wet as well.
Like if it's
because it's so abrasive.
What's the lap times difference in the wet
Very
and the dry?
Little.
Like 3 seconds or something.
Yeah, really
full
close.
Wet to full dry.
Yeah, really close.
That is grippy. That line, isn't it?
So that was the start of the rot, really, and not that I can't put it down to Lee taking me out. He didn't mean to, and it wasn't.
He got collected.
He had no effect on the rest of what happened. But what I mean is that was the start of sort of a run of things going the other way.
This game is so much about
the
momentum.
Ball of shit was starting to gather.
It was rolling.
This game is so much about momentum, though, and you're saying it's not. That didn't cause it, but you just never known. Like it. Yeah, it definitely was a turning point. And you know, it's like I say, Lee didn't mean to do it.
No,
but
he got out of shape, had to release the brakes, and I was just. To be fair, if I was a foot further around the corner, he would have missed me completely. It was just one of the things. It was my fault. I should have been further out front. And then the next race was like half and half, and I just struggled. I'm normally really good in them sort of conditions. I couldn't see shit through my visor. There was some kind of oil stuff coming up off the track. Did you ride it like that?
No, but we had a dry race there, but I remember everyone speaking about that. I remember people
like
saying...
an oily substance. Honestly, I was struggling to see grass from tarmac. It was that bad at times. It was really... I was trying to find wet bits to try and spray my own visor to try and clear a little bit. It was hard to see anything at all.
I tell you what, you're a bit of a running joke in our family. It's like it's pissing down rain. Iddon, I'll have a slick in. Honestly, it's like that guy who's wet tyre war, he'll have a slick in. Tell you, me and Lauren like that.
Well, that happened at the next round.
I know, mate, honestly, I tell you what, before I forget this, I've got to put it in. You are seriously credit to this sport. You, like, every rider needs to hang on to their bike more often. Doesn't matter how fast it is, right? How you must be, in my opinion, the most employable rider to any manufacturer, period. It's like that, going, him. Why? He's the only one who's got the balls enough to hang on to the helm. You have.
That's just because I figure
it's not your fault, you commit to the whole youngin.
I just forget that there's not a restart rule. I forget. It's not until I stand back up that I'm like, I can't even get back on it anyway. And you can't even do it in. I think it comes from motocross and supermoto where you can crash twice in a race and nobody blinks an eyelid and you can still win a race or finish well up. It's so close in short circuits. Even if you did get back on, unless it's a wet encounter, you're not finishing anywhere. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, mate, for me watching it, I just think, go on, son. You just think if someone's going to sponsor you a bike, it's like, can you make an effort to hold on to it, mate? You know what I mean?
So after Thruxton, was it Cadwell or Donington?
No, it was Donington.
Donington next.
So I'd got took out by Lee, not took out, but collected by Lee.
Wiped out.
Yeah. Then had a really poor third race as it was, sorry. And then went to Donington and first race was fourth, so we were all right. We're back in the mix, and then real early on in the second race, got wiped out by Andrew Irwin, and that one I was like seething about. That one to me was A wipeout. The one with Lee was very different to Andrew.
Yeah, big talking point. This round, there was loads going on at the time, and I really did not understand what was going on. Hugh, something happened was it free practice or qualifying between yourself and Glenn, where as you were coming into pit lane, something like there was
how long you got?
The thing is that there's I was at the paddock in the paddock, and I don't really understand it. So I presume a lot of people listening know that there was something went on, but what started it?
It's a great question. Myself and Glenn had a telephone conversation the Tuesday after the weekend, and I asked him exactly the same thing. I think he just decided that weekend he had something in for me.
So did it start this weekend?
It started that weekend at Donington. It stemmed back to his explanation of it. I don't want to tell you exactly what's what, but his explanation of it was from something that he didn't have any first-hand experience of. It was something he got told that I did to another rider whilst on track. It's on TV, and that rider hadn't complained or done anything. It was just a really strange thing. So he said he'd seen something on TV and decided that I was a dangerous rider, and therefore he would ride hard against me. So in the first race, I'd made this was the catalyst. I'd made a pass on Glenn at turn 1, gone up the inside of him, and was deep on the front end. And I thought, well, if I keep turning, I might lose the front. Glenn's on the outside of me, good chance I'll fall off. So sort of just lifted the bike a little bit, but only what you would normally do. And then, I think he decided that I lifted him on purpose, and rather than him asking me about it, and I would have told him that explanation, decided to have a little bit of a vendetta that weekend, which is a shame because it really, I think a lot of things were said and done that weekend. I tend to stay quite quiet, but there was a lot of mouthiness going on, and I don't think he really means it. I think sometimes can just let words get ahead of him a few times, and it went from there. He did something purposeful to me in morning warm-up, which was try and cut me up. And when someone does something that's on purpose, I don't take kindly to that. It's dangerous enough sport as it is. I was literally pulling into pit lane, sort of minding my own business, and then all of a sudden a Honda went, swiped my nose off me. And then there was a lot of smack talk on the grid and stuff like that. I hadn't even heard because obviously I'm on the grid anyway. And then you sort of listen to it back later and someone says, you're getting smack talked about. I'm like, really? And then you listen to it and you're like, where did that come from sort of thing? And so the big end of it was, and it was kind of one of the least sporting things I think I've ever seen. And I hope to never encounter something like this. And I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt and just think it was, hot-headedness in the moment. But Andrew, in my eyes, took me down. And as I was sliding off, Glenn was the next one in line behind and managed to have the presence of mind to do a fist pump that had fallen off. Which, it doesn't sit right with me. No. He's got no idea whether I've hurt, not hurt, what's going on in my life, or whether nobody deserves anything. No. So, it was kind of one of them. We agreed to not disagree, but I listened to his side and accepted, whatever he thought was at the moment was what he thought.
Did he apologise for fist pumping?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I don't remember it exactly, but like I said, I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt. I don't. I think anyone can understand that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But we talked about it at the time. I remember we talked about it on the podcast
at the time, didn't we?
And said it was whatever you thought of the move, that it was like sort of cheering for anyone crashing.
Yeah,
it's just like a no.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, it doesn't cross my mind. I was really surprised when I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And was that after the weekend, after the phone call? Was that did you feel that was like right with? Metaphorically shook hands and put it to bed type of thing.
Yeah. It's a shame because I do have a lot of respect for all my rivals, but I couldn't help but that took some off that with Glenn.
Yeah,
but still respect him as a racer and a rival. But it just as a person. I
You won't be
lost
going around for a
one
pint.
little bit. No, well, I never would anyway. But don't
Yeah,
drink. But unless it's the
Once
big
every
night
twice
out.
a year, that's it, exactly. Unless you're getting married. There you go.
Yeah, it was just a surprise to me that I could be racing against someone that would have the thought process to cheer on when someone's crashed.
Do you know that same weekend? I remember Hickman. We've never seen Hickman like that before. He was like super aggressive. Was he involved in the same? Was he like sort of sticking up for you?
No,
Or
not
was
that I
that
know of. No,
completely
no
separate?
idea. I mean, at this point in the season, things had started to turn into bumper cars already. It was starting
Yeah,
to
it
get
was
like
serious, wasn't
crazy.
It
Like,
was, wasn't it?
there was passes that it was as if like there's like this like game that if you pass you
Extra
have to
points.
yeah, you have to clip them just a little bit. It became a thing almost. It was.
It's not really a pass unless you rub.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the
Robin's
closeness.
racing and everyone saw the same memo.
I don't know if it was the closeness of the racing that caused it, so that we're so near each other that actually to make a move, everyone's so much on the limit that to make a move you have to take the line that they're on, or what. But it did start to get. I mean, I saw the one that the Hickman versus Andy Irwin down Craner, and that was a big move, and they were lucky to stay on. It was a monster
And the
move.
one at the final chicane.
And that one,
That
yeah.
was like proper contact.
Yeah. So, and then it obviously then we've got now in racing all over. This is another really long topic, but obviously we've got race control getting involved in different things. And when does something become punishable? Like you can hit someone really hard, and as long as they don't fall off, does that make it all right?
That's going off the skill of the other person,
Yeah,
making it like
yeah.
yeah.
So, like, with the two situations I was involved in, so I was involved in more actually, but with Lee Jackson, I've watched it back, got out of shape, collected me, completely trying not to collect me. he had a natural penalty because he crashed, so no points. He got a 3-place grid drop and points on his license. We have a license scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, on the other hand, which I feel was, well, it's certainly more forceful and done with meaning than what Lee did, because Lee definitely was out of shape, whereas Andrew was trying to make a pass in whichever fashion that he was. He just got a 3-second penalty in that race. There's no natural penalty because he didn't fall off himself, so he keeps all his points from that race. His 3-second penalty dropped him back 1 position or 2 positions. I was fully penalised because I was in the gravel. So, yeah, how the penalties work. And then if we then fast forward a lot towards the end of the season, Taron clipped my handlebars and I went off track at Alton Park. So I didn't crash in that one. I went from 4th place to 15th place. But, I didn't fall off, so does that mean that you don't get a penalty, or do you know what I mean? It's a real grey area.
Yeah.
It's hard, hard one.
And we've said this from day one. Soon as with the whole penalty issue, because it's subjective,
Yeah.
and there's a massive sort of grey area in every issue, it means there's a huge problem with consistency,
Yeah.
because it is physically impossible to be 100% consistent throughout all the race and throughout all the season, throughout all the different
People wouldn't
championships.
watch.
And it's to me like there's so many examples that if you were like scrutinizing it, like one would be a 10-second, one would be a 3-second, one would be and it's like, well,
Yeah.
unless you had like a rule book with it all stated black and white with like, do this, you get this penalty. It's a can of worms. And in a funny sort of sense, if you take away all of the intervention from race control, there's like a natural way that things settle out. So if someone's riding out like too aggressive, they tend to like get a bit back, and then that sort of
Which
sorts
what
it
you were
out.
saying was Hickman doing that for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
Well, not the case,
or
but I
something-
don't know. Yeah.
or it gets sorted out in the paddock, or there's like natural ways for things to get sorted out.
So we need a boxing ring.
Yes.
What Chris is saying is no race control, but if anyone's got an issue with anyone, we're going to have pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, I think
Couldn't agree more.
I'm of the opinion I'm not a big fan of race control getting involved in issues, but I do understand the doing it from a good place, like for the safety of the competitors. Like I totally get it, but I just think it's too difficult to be consistent.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've been in a few this year because I've been involved in so many incidents that I don't really think I should have been involved in. But you know, I've been in race control a few times, and it seems like this year they've gone along the lines of if someone falls off due to another rider, they have to impose a penalty, or they have to be seen to impose a penalty.
Yeah.
So, for example, Lee Jackson, I don't feel personally that he should have got a penalty. We all make a mistake. He made a mistake. He got penalised naturally because he didn't finish the race. Okay, I crashed, whatever. But he didn't mean to. He literally was too late on the brakes and couldn't stop. You know, it's just one of them. And then you go to another example, such as the Andrew one, or even a different one where myself and Josh had a coming together. Josh took me down in qualifying at Snetterton. And that was another that had no impact on me whatsoever, and he got a penalty because he had to be seen to have a penalty. I sat completely silent in the race control because I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't want to cause a fuss with Josh, so I didn't say a word. But they penalised him with whatever they penalised him on because another rider had been involved and been took down. So I don't always agree that you have to impose a penalty just because someone fell off. So, for example, the last example I used when Taron took me off track.
Yeah.
That, to me, had a big impact on me. And I feel...
You should have really crashed it. It was only the fact that you had presence of mind
exactly.
to keep it upright.
And I feel that should have been penalised way more than Josh should have been penalised, or way more than Lee should have been penalised, because those two... Okay, Lee's one had an impact on me, but Josh's one certainly didn't. Lee didn't mean it. Okay, maybe Taron didn't mean it, but we were racing for the championship at that point. That was really late on in the year when it was... We were 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. It was crucial. So it's hard.
There's another thing as well, is when it happens, like I know a case of, like, for example, Lewis Rollo took Craig Neve out because Craig Neve's not in the top 15 in the championship.
Yeah.
Craig went rattling down.
And that was
I
like,
heard about that one. That was at the old hairpin, wasn't it?
Oh, going in the old hairpin, and like obviously proper massive crash, and like if he'd done that to Billy McConnell, it would have definitely been a penalty. Where again, but like so, just opening the can of
bike, and he's been in a bit
and the other hardest thing is what gets seen.
That's it.
For every one incident that happens, there's probably 100 that don't get seen.
Yeah,
I think I've got a copy of that crash. I've got that on video.
Yeah,
what, Neves?
Yeah,
Neves crash.
Neves sent it to me. I think.
There you go. Send it to you.
So going on from Donington, in race 3 as well. Yeah, that crashed down crazy.
So got took out, no points in the first race on Sunday, and then the second race. You were just saying that I like my old tyre choices. I went for... It was a drying track. For me, it was a no-brainer. We're going to go as dry as we possibly can.
Did they even keep you an intermediate on the shelf?
Well, no, that's the mistake I made. I put an into front on because I second-guessed myself. Everyone else had gone wet front into rear, and I'd gone into front slick rear. So all you have to do is get through the first few laps when it's wetter, which I did. And I was like, oh, job's a dream now. I think it was Bridewell in the lead, and then the two Irwins, they'd got quite a gap. And I thought they'd got too much of a gap, and I folded the front down Carena just because the rear overpowered the front into.
Right.
And that's what happened. What I didn't realise is the lap before I was a lap faster than everyone in front, and I only had an 8-second gap to pull in 14 laps or something. It was easy. But those gaps are really difficult to judge. If I'd probably done one more lap, I would have seen the board come down by enough, but I didn't. I was like, I could see them at turn 1 as I was coming out the last corner, and I thought, that's a big gap. So I put the hammer down and lasted 3 corners. And that was my first error. Like, absolutely, hold my hands up. And I was devastated. Because not only that, I sort of afterwards, when I watched it back, it was almost worse because I saw what I'd pulled. I looked at TSL on the time, and I was like... man.
Yeah, definitely.
That was so easy. You're never in a position. No, but you're never in a position. I wasn't on the same thing as everyone else.
Massive tyre advantage for those conditions.
Exactly.
Because Bridewell was on full inters at that point, wasn't he? So
yeah.
He was, and that's when he won the race. He had full inters.
Yeah.
He never ran inters before that, apparently.
No, so that was my first mistake. So I'd gone DNF, 4th, DNF. So I was like, oh man, this is not good.
It's a long drive home.
On to Cadwell after that.
Cadwell.
Go on, talk through that weekend.
So this is where the wheels are really... Cadwell and Snetterton are where the wheels start falling off the wagon big time. Big time. So gone from can't do anything wrong can't do too much right. So before Cadwell, my crew chief's Italian, tests positive for the Rona or gets pinged or whatever it is, so he's not turning up. Not the end of the world. I thought it's fine. We don't change too much on the bike, but it was just the first, like, it's not the best start when you lose a crucial member of your team. And Cadwell's the first time that I struggled for proper pace. Like Donington, we didn't have the results, but I was pace enough to be flipping. It should have been 3 podiums really, and it wasn't. It was none.
Yeah.
So yeah, qualified 9th, and I was like pulled apart to do it. Finished 5th in the first race, which I was really happy about because that was better than what my pace had shown. And then folded the front out of 2nd position in the second race, and I was like, oh man, I'm down again. I couldn't believe it. I've gone 33 races without crashing. Now I've gone 5 crashes in 9 races or whatever it is. Like twice not my fault, twice it is my fault.
Held on to that one as well.
Held on to that one.
That's a fast place to go down.
Yeah, it was.
Too.
And then I'm on then for the final race, I'm on like row 5 or something, which it's a long way back at Cadwell. And I can't remember where I finished. I think I finished 7th, which again was a good result, but not as it should be.
At that point as riders, you know what I mean, at British level, like you lads are, how momentum, you mentioned that right at the beginning of the podcast, and it's such a hard thing to gain and hold, you know what I mean? At that point, where are you mentally at that? It's Christian, isn't it? To be like, fuck.
It started to get difficult, I got to admit.
Yeah.
At that point, so it's completely different and outside, and you shouldn't ever bring your outside world into racing, but sometimes you can't help it. So from Cadwell, my granddad had become really sick, and I'm close to my granddad. We're a close family, and we went straight back from there to go and see him really, to basically say my last goodbyes.
Oh Jesus! Man.
So that was hard, and then at the same time, I'd actually managed to get sick in the middle of the year, so that was something else I was dealing with completely. So between Cadwell and Silverstone, I was going through I must have had 5 or 6 different tests in different places, and we were waiting for the results of them. I'd hurt my arm in the crash at Cadwell in the second race. I'd popped something out my muscle. Part of my muscle was sticking out, and it was hurting like crazy. So it was just a really weird time, as if everything was going wrong all at once.
Yeah. Like I said before, the momentum thing is.
Yeah, and actually, because we still this year had a more succinct championship, we started late again, didn't we? So the championship was really condensed to the second half of the year. It was pretty much 2 weeks on, 1 week off, rather than 1 week on, 1 week off, and then 2 weeks off. It was a really...
Yeah. You had 3 double headers.
Yeah, so when it's rolling in your direction, it's mint. It's great, that sort of championship, because once you're rolling, you can keep rolling, and once you're not, it's hard to get it going back your way. So I turned up to Snetterton. My granddad had passed away, which was probably not help. I don't want to say it was a help, but it was something that's done and over with sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like at least you could put it to the side of your mind or whatever, you know what I mean? And then, so I'd got my arm fixed up, that was better. And I knew more what was wrong with me. So that was at least not good news, but it was at least I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So I turned up to Snetterton actually feeling, a lot better about things. I thought Cadwell's the worst one. Got it out of the way. I won at Snetterton the year before, my first ever win. Flip, I've never ridden so slow in my life when I got to Snetterton. I couldn't believe it. It was so bad. so bad. I didn't get into Q2. It's the first time I've not got into Q2 straight away. And it was just hard. Really, really hard. And just found myself, I was lost. Couldn't find the bike to suit what I wanted to do. Josh, on the other hand, that weekend he wasn't like going really, really fast, but he was using the hard option tyre and going pretty damn fast.
Yes.
And we were thinking, right, well, he's going to be able to run those times consistently because he's on the hard tyre and everyone else on the softer one. And at the end of the race, he's going to be faster than everyone else and probably win the race. So we got into the first race and decided, because Josh can do it, we'll run the hard tyre. And hopefully I'll do what he can do or somewhere near. And I crashed on the first lap. I just lit it up. I wasn't used to the tyre that I ran, and I was on my ass again. And I was just like, no, really, and that probably was the lowest point of my year, period. Like completely and utterly, that was the lowest point because I'd completed in qualifying. Josh crashed into me and we both went down. So then the very first race, I literally did 5 corners and crashed again on my own. And it was just like, oh man, like what can you do? I'm at the track where I know the bike works well. I won here last year. I'm really struggling for points, to get in the points. And I just can't find my mojo and I can't find a feeling with my bike. And, where's it gone? It's the same bike that I've had all year. There's literally no reason for this.
Jesus.
One of the hardest things in this sport, I think, is when you're on that downward to like level it and then turn it back up because it's so difficult.
So that's, to be fair, that was the mindset. So even from Donington, we'd started to not notice that we were on the wrong side of the slope, but we were like, right. By then I'd accumulated so many points at the start of the year that I was almost a certainty of being in the showdown. So it kind of didn't matter apart from a few token podium credits. So all we really focused on was trying to get the trend to go back upwards for the last 3 rounds. So even, from Cadwell onwards, we were trying to get that trend turned back round. And it was more about trying to, just get the confidence back.
Yeah. Speaking as, like not naming teams or anything like that, but you've rode for you've rode as a professional rider for a few years now. And now, it's such a difficult question because every team will react different. But when you're on that down, how understanding are the teams? Do they literally, have you ever been threatened for a sack at this point? Do not name the team.
No,
but I mean,
not...
is it a case of going,
it's not that you threatened for the sack in that moment or whatever, but you realise that racing, it's so
fickle.
You're only as good as your last race. Is the
for people that are self-aware as well. Where understand the situation, and everyone kind of knows what the score is. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who's saying what or who's putting pressure on or whatever, because you know yourself and you put yourself
And not only that, the other thing that's hard is you are okay. It's our sport is an individual, but it's not.
No,
it's a whole team around, and when your side of the garage is buoyant, you can feel the buoyancy, and it breeds a good feeling, and it's
that's success.
Let's go on track.
Success.
Yeah, exactly. And when it's the other way, it's hard, and the mechanics are tired, and they want the results as much as you do, more or less, and you can feel the pressure on them as much as you can, and it's just you can almost feel the tension building over time when things aren't going the right way.
Yeah,
and one thing that is true as well is the more times that you have like that, you really appreciate when it goes right. And say later on in the season at Donington, when you're say doing the business and you're back in the podium, whatever, if you've been on the podium all year, it starts to become a bit numb. It's almost expected. And I've had seasons before where you work so hard to get in, your first podium, you're so ecstatic, and then within a few rounds you win a race and you come in, you're yeah, bang on, and emotions just not there. Where
you must have had it from 2020 to 2021 in a way, you were winning week in, week out, and then you got your first win this year at Galton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the emotion on that one was far higher than the last one that you had on.
Exactly that, yeah, because it makes it feel a lot more real, doesn't it? And it's sort of the more sort of rubbish that you go through, it makes it feel a lot better when it does come good.
Oh no, I buggered some
crackling there,
crackling like mad. But no, not like mad. I totally understand that element of it. You're working as a team all through the year, but I'm just saying, when you watch a race on the telly, it's that immediate. It's the sofa warrior, isn't it? Going, you know what I mean? Just going right there, and you immediately go, he's getting sacked. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering, as the career riders get that element of it. You know what I mean? It's look, son, you've got two more.
You are acutely aware of, for example, at that point, you would be acutely aware that if you didn't sort of get it sorted by the end of the season, that your job would be in question, wouldn't it? So, on that, have your team announced for next year, or
that's a touchy subject, that one.
Right, should we just leave that one then?
Probably.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's not Honda. Honda have put their riders out, so there you go. I'm trying to think who's Fei-Ho has a mystery rider.
We'll
Pete
get to the rumour mill, but we'll go...
I want to know now. Who's the second rider for Fei-Ho then?
I don't know.
No, I don't.
No, there's the outline thing they do, so they've got the Pete Hickman and then the question mark for the second.
You'd think it would be, like a...
Well, they had Francis on it at the end of the year, didn't they?
They did. He was going well.
Job.
He went quite well.
There you go. Anyway, that's the end of the show. That's where, let's go back to it. So, like you say, you're a bigger critic. You're on the lull.
Yeah.
It's about getting out that lull. What was the next stage of there?
So, SNET day one was a race one.
Yeah.
The lowest. One of the lowest moments I've had in a long, long time. It was pretty dark. It was horrible. But fine. We'll regroup. There's worse things under the sun in there. So, the second day, I think I finished 11th or something in the first race. Again, properly off the boil, rubbish. And then we put the soft tyre in for the last race, and I was racy again. It was a red flagged race, so it was a 2-part race, and I finished 5th, but I was battling at the end of the race. I was within a second and a half of the win, so it was like that was the first start to the trend that you've hit your trough, starting to rebuild to get back on the upward.
Do you know when things are going difficult and like say you've had like a stinking race weekend, there's some riders I know that can they jump in the motorhome and by the time they get home they can like park the race in like a box and leave it at the track and then just be completely normal at home and then and then there's I know some riders like, and I would say I'm more in category 2 where like you have like a min weekend and you are like peaking all week, nothing can go wrong. Whatever happens at work, whatever happens at home, like you've had a good weekend, nothing else matters. But on the same side of the coin, you've had a bad weekend and like everything's bad and you just come home and like you feel rubbish. Are you can you park it at the yeah,
not one bit.
Can you, if you've had a stinking weekend, does it affect your next week, or can you just park?
100%.
Yeah, I think.
But I get massive. Like even to be fair, even after a good weekend, I think I get a buzz come down.
Yes, like holiday blues type of thing.
Yeah, proper struggle with Mondays, and not just Mondays. I mean, post race weekend Mondays.
Yeah, because everything else feels rubbish.
Yeah,
average. Yeah, it's one of them things that I know you haven't listened to it yet, but the last podcast we did with James Toslin's very much touching on that subject and the sort of like after sort of winning world championships and racing at 200 miles an hour, having like then being forced into retirement through an injury, and finding having like 10 years of finding absolutely nothing that comes close to that. And he sort of likened it to being a recovering drug addict, where he kind of knows that he'll never be able to have that buzz again, but like misses it like crazy. And like
I can imagine,
totally understand.
Can imagine.
But yeah, Matt, so you did what we're saying is like one of the hardest things to do in this sport, and to turn it round. And real strong end of the season, especially Donington. We did a podcast just before the final round, and like because of the momentum thing and the fact that things I like really fancied you going into the last round. I thought
no, because he's based in the northeast now. Let's face it.
Yeah, it probably was sort of a heart leading ahead a little bit, but I just thought it sort of teed up perfectly. Donington, I mean, big pressure weekend. Donington, dodgy weather conditions, and like you're properly like on your A game. Yeah,
well, we got to the first round of the showdown was Alton Park. Jason had accumulated a massive. It gets wiped, but it doesn't, because the podium credits that he'd accumulated were just insane. Like the season that Jason put together was just unbelievable. I think he had 45 points over me as we went into the showdown. So it's still a massive point swing on someone who's firing on all cylinders. You still think, "Flip, this is hard." But I was racy again. I was racy at the right point in the season again. I wasn't exactly as I had been at the start of the year. But I was within a gnat's whisker of it. So, yeah, had a good weekend at Alton. Jason clipped a curb in the first race and went down, then crashed on his own accord in the third race again or something like that. So we had 2 DNFs. Taron took the lead of the championship, and I'd pulled back to, I think I pulled back to 33 points behind Taron at that point after that weekend. And that was that crunch moment when I ended up in the gravel, because that I think I would have been a second place, and I was 11th, so it would have been a 15-point swing. So it would have put me to within 18 points of the lead, but it didn't. And then Donington. And Donington, we just finished third and second, and it was some of the most treacherous conditions I've ever ridden in. That track was crazy. And again, it started out such a bad weekend. So on the Saturday in qualifying, they brought everything. Did they bring it forward or backwards? It was forward, wasn't it?
Forward.
They tried to beat the rain.
Yeah,
for us.
That was it. Yes, I.
They tried to beat the rain. So we had a very condensed qualifying and into race one. I think it was about an hour between the end of qualifying and the start of the first race. And very first lap, the out lap, Josh crashed before he even started a flying lap. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, shame. So I carried on, started my first flying lap and nearly crashed at the top of Craner. Somehow stayed on it, only through luck, not skill, just literally luck. Rode it down the grass. I was like, flip it, slippy this. And then the very next lap, I crashed just a bit further around the track. Mm-hmm. Hadn't set a lap time in qualifying, so I was 17th on the grid. Taron had also done the same, so he was 18th. He didn't set a time at all. And I was like in the gravel going, oh, flip, I was like, this track is ridiculous. It can't be. It must be me, my bike, my setup, me as a rider. Like, I'd hardly touched the throttle and it just went, whoop, and a lap before I'd nearly crashed on an out lap. It was like, man, this is horrendous. In the gravel, bike's bent to bits. It wasn't a big, massive crash, but it seemed to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, one of those.
So I'm back in the caravan, changing the airbags over into a new suit and stuff like that, and just thinking, oh man, this is where it's gone wrong, this is it. Like, no confidence in the bike. It just couldn't feel anything. Got back. They fixed it beautifully. Set off on the sighting lap to go to the grid. Nearly crashed on the sighting lap. Like, nearly didn't even make it to the grid. In fact, I think Skinner didn't make it to the grid on that race because it was, that's how treacherous conditions were. You would literally just fall off. It was the weirdest thing.
I crashed that weekend.
Did you?
So everyone was talking about like the fact that it needs re-tarmacking. Do you agree with everyone was? Just,
yeah, well, actually,
there was a lot of people screaming about it, weren't there?
To be fair,
Rio wasn't. He was.
No, well, he was flying, but the BSB did send out. What's going on? BSB sent out a piece of paper and asked us to say where needs re-tarmacking, and for me, it was everywhere bar one corner.
Which was?
Coming out of Foggy's S's was fine.
Yeah,
right?
It was, yeah. There's mint there.
See? Yeah. I'm not wrong. There you go, Stuart, if you're listening.
I crashed the same as Buchan, so, on the brakes into the hairpin.
Yeah,
did you see that race? It was like he was touring, and then was it the last lap?
Oh, yes.
I got loads of pace in the last few laps, and then went down.
That was literally the expression of pulling the pin, and it was just like, oh my, mate, it was outstanding.
But that's how bad when you see so many people crashing in a straight line. There were straight line crashes. Literally, there's nothing you can do. You just pull the brakes, and you can't get the transfer because there's no feeling, and just oof.
It's mad when you think though, like your mindset after qualifying, if you then said you're going to get 3 podiums, you'd have just
exactly.
Been like, no way.
So that's what happened. So I pulled up to the grid. I was like, boys, I've just nearly crashed. I nearly didn't make it to the grid. I've just nearly crashed again. I was sat there in 17th on the grid, which is God knows what row that is, and I'm like thinking this is just horrendous. I didn't even want to. I always want to race, but I was like, this is literally just got to get through it or do whatever. Set off. And literally just bimbled around the first corner. And as we came out the first corner, everyone in front of me, which is basically everybody, had like a moment. They all sort of lost the rear. Nobody fell off, but they all and we're all going like walking pace. It was like the good slow races. It was laughable, really. But the fact that everyone had a moment, I was like,
mint.
We're all in this together. Mm-hmm. And that was like a moment of realization because I hadn't done qualifying with everyone because I only lasted half a lap. And, I thought, the track must be better for them and not me. It's the setup or it's the way I'm riding or whatever. Literally, that first corner, I was like, everyone's the same.
Yeah.
Now, the only person that didn't understand was the build base Suzuki had a Japanese rider on. And he came past me down Craner, I was cheering him on. I was going, go on, lad. He'd done 2 people in the old hairpin, 2 more going up Schwantz or whatever it is. I was like, what a legend. He is going to win by a country mile or crash. He crashed, yeah. So he didn't even make a lap, but he didn't realise what it was like. So, got 3rd in that one. Next race was a dry one, got 3rd in that. And then the last race was wet again. And myself, Gino and Lee Bob had really don't know what happened, but we cleared off to such an extent that we had like 40 seconds on fourth place or something. It was ridiculous. But what I actually think was Gino set the pace. Gino rode unbelievable that weekend. Myself and Lee set off after him, and I think we're the only ones that got enough heat in the tyres that our tyres were working completely different to everyone else's. So I think once you got them to a certain point, they kind of worked.
Yeah.
And I think our 3 lots of tyres were the only ones.
Jesus.
That's the only explanation I can give of it, because it was literally, to me, it was like riding a different track, even though conditions were comparable to the first race.
Yeah.
But that put me within 15 points going into the last round. So it was a massive weekend.
So, and then obviously last round, strong weekend, and obviously like we've talked about the big crash in the final one.
I think we can upgrade it from big.
Yeah,
massive. It was biblical.
Taz came on extremely strong at the right time in the championship, and obviously took the championship in style at the last round. So, sort of hats off to him. Really, he did the business. In terms, there was a question I was going to ask you earlier. In the mid-season, so it was around the sort of Cadwell and Donington time, Ryan Vickers looked like he was really sort of coming into his own in the Superbike. Really strong at Donington. There was that one where he like started at the back of the grid and like rode fantastic to come like within a second of the win. And obviously at Cadwell when he did that fastest lap. And for someone that's...
Did he get on the podium at Thruxton?
No, I don't think he's ever had a podium.
No, I was just about to say
podium. Sorry.
He's, for someone that's had so much pace and is like fastest 2-wheel lap at Cadwell, it's mad that he hasn't yet had a podium. From being on track with him, you must have been impressed with the lap time at Cadwell, but like sort of seeing him on track at Donington, do you think he has got something special on the Superbike, or do you think he's taken like big risks in like places where other people don't want to take them, and therefore it's not paying dividends in the races? Or
again, I don't really like to critique other riders because I don't think it's overly fair, but Ryan's obviously supremely talented, and some of the lap times that he puts in are unbelievable. I think for me, one race I was involved with him in was the Thruxton race, or one of the Thruxton races. Must have been the last one, or the first race when I got on the podium. Whichever one it was, he was so fast. Came up the inside of me at the last chicane and took us both across the chicane. He then got a ride through, or that long lap penalty for it, still came through and got back up into a podium-ish position, and then lost the front on the last lap. And it's just and you just think, dude, if you'd have just chilled out for the whole race, you probably could have won that. But he was overly aggressive at the wrong points, and I don't know. He's obviously supremely fast and talented.
It's probably one of those things as well. If he had got that podium, it would have probably chilled him out. And he could have ended up like the rest of the season could have looked a lot different for him.
I think he rides in a slightly different way. He runs different amounts of corner speed to a few other people. I did listen to, I can't remember what he was on, but I listened to something, and he was saying that one of his strong points, and he doesn't understand why other people don't go that fast in certain places, but I think there's a reason why most of the rest of the field do things quite the same.
Is he trying to ride it more like a 600? No, I'm just thinking,
possibly.
When he talked about corner speed, because we had Lee Hardy on, he was talking about like corner speed and trying to make a big bike handle more like a 600, and how that adaptation, why can't you make that word work? And I think that makes a lot of sense, but there's a reason why all you lads ride them like big bikes, isn't it? And it's
his style would probably be better, to be fair, in a European sort of scenario, or not on Pirelli tyres, I think, because I think his corner speed style and flowing style works different for different scenarios. But for the current BSB rules, maybe it's not quite suited to him just yet.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it?
But he's flipping fast, and like say, the fact that he's not yet scored a podium is quite incredible, really. Given the pace that he's got. That lap at Cadwell. But again, it sort of maybe shows the mentality that after, he set that time, and a bit like we were talking about before, you always feel like you can go more. But you've just set the fastest ever 2-wheel lap round the most technically demanding circuit in the country, and you're sort of saying, I can go faster. Maybe just be take it and content. Yeah,
Yeah.
just be content. Do 20 more of them in the race, and that's fine.
Imagine saying that. Just do 20 of them, son.
Yeah.
No problem, mate.
But no, he's a talented lad.
Any
Yeah,
word
for
on
sure.
figures? Who he's on with next year or anything like that? Because I tell you what, that's the thing about this time of year, isn't it? It's almost too quiet. NEC's coming up. You think, what's people doing? You're thinking, come on, let's just get the ball rolling. Can we just end the suspense of where people are? It's just that triage system, isn't it? You think, who's where, and then it just goes off. And
it usually filters down, doesn't it? You usually wait for. I mean, last year it was you sort of wait for your Brooksy to.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah,
take his place wherever that'll be, and then it sort of filters down, and everyone sort of goes down the hierarchy of riders / teams.
Have you got any juicy gossip for the rumour mill?
I don't think I have
any inside information.
Not that I can say.
No. Have you got any?
I've heard McGuinness is going to Honda.
Yeah, I heard a bit of a rumour with that.
He was on Manx Radio, and his reference was
I'm going to Honda.
Yeah, I get that. I wonder what gave it away, Christian. They're like going to Honda. He might be on a car. I don't know, but it's a case of that's what Manx Radio. You could actually hear it in the good thing about that website is they actually put the clip on. The audible side of it. He's like, yeah, maybe getting back into old slippers. I'm thinking, well, it's definitely not fucking Norton. Put it that way. You know what I mean? So that's what I've heard on the rumour mill, that he's going back to Honda, which will be interesting.
Yeah,
will be interesting.
Well, it'll be interesting just to have the roadside back. To be fair,
my God, you're not wrong on that side of things. But no, as far as rumour mill, I don't know enough, and it's doing me head in. You know what I mean? I don't know who's sitting where, who's doing what.
I think from the BSB side of thing, I think it'll make a big difference when McCams and PBM announce their stable, and then I think everything falls into place a lot quicker. But I mean, we've already seen that Honda have announced theirs, which is
Tom Neves,
fantastic. I honestly think there should be a rule where if you win the feeder class, you get
100%.
Or feeder classes, you get a promotion.
100%.
Because otherwise there's no point in feeder classes. So,
amen to that.
I'm really glad to see when a team brings up the rider that has done the job and fully deserves a shot.
Like I was about to say, who can we confirm at the moment? So we've got Glenn Irwin, the two Japanese lads. I'm not going to try and pronounce their names for love of money. But Tom Neve. Who else have we got? We've got Hickman, P. Hickman on the Feiho.
OMG,
yes.
Which has switched to Yams.
Yeah, Kyland.
Which could be really interesting, because I do think that specifically the style of the way Kyle rides, but also Brad, that could really suit them a lot.
There we are then. That way. And it'll be interesting to see what their take is to the roads element. Do they keep with the BMWs and give them...
I never thought of that.
No, because you've got Dave O'Johnson and... James Hillier. Now, the good thing about Alan is he commits to his lads. You know what I mean? He puts his time, puts his effort in, but you're thinking, are the lads going on BMWs or Yamahas?
When are PBM looking to announce the rider lineup, or is that like?
I really don't know.
Right.
They just seem to hold everything. Lee Hardy hasn't announced. You know what I mean? It's a bit like
I did hear that Lee's potentially running 2 riders, which would be nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Has he ever done that?
He had Jack Kennedy.
Yes, not for a full season, but he did put a bike out for Kennedy.
There's another rider. What's Jack Kennedy doing? 45 minutes in. We've got another. That's a proper inside joke between us three. I think we should just leave it at that. There we go. So Jack Kennedy. I'm breaking Summit here, right? But anyway, sorry, it's my bloody voice on the microphone. So what's Jack Kennedy doing? Won the British Supersport. Haven't heard zip.
Yeah, Jack has one of sort of them yo-yo sort of careers, doesn't he? Where he sort of back to Supersport, up to Superbike, back to Supersport, up to Superbike sort of thing.
What a rider, mate.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He did an awesome job on the 636 this year, because it definitely wasn't as competitive as the...
No, didn't seem to be the bike.
No, and in terms of straight line speed, certainly, even compared to Ben Curry. Ben Curry tried to ride the 636 and didn't get anywhere near the winning races on it, so yeah, he did an awesome job.
He's off to World Supersport.
Off to World Supersport, they are getting, will he be taking money to that? I don't know. That's a problem. Now, the problem is, right, when we first started doing this podcast, I thought the whole world was rainbows and lollipops, and you went fast, you got some money, and you went racing bikes. No, this podcast has single-handedly ruined my dreams, and now you have to take money everywhere. So
I haven't yet listened to the Toseland one, but I heard that was a topic of conversation in it, that when he started, he was earning so much money for being in a thing, and now obviously he was involved with Danny Webb and that, and now riders have to take X amount to the team rather than the other way around.
That's what I heard about Mackenzie. He was having to take money. He's just won the British title in Superbikes. Right, son, I want X amount of pounds for you to come race my team.
Said,
what the flaming...
After he was running I think he went straight from a CBR 600, a CB 500. So when he was 17-year-old, he got taken on by Castrol Honda.
Yeah.
So he didn't know the tracks or anything. So first year with an unknown rider in World Supersport, and he I think he said he was on 30 grand then. 17-year-old, which
20 years ago.
And you're
15 years ago.
And you're hanging around with Matt late, knocking in fence posts and losing fingers, son.
100 quid a day.
They are,
over 20 years ago.
I charge well.
I want to. Hello, Matt, if you are listening, which you will be. Any jobs going?
Now, another topic of that I need to ask you about is last year really enjoyed the old Christian Iddon fitness program. Is it making a return? Fat Club. Is it making a return this year?
I think it will actually. I wasn't sure whether to do it or not.
When we're starting January, or
I think January. I was going to do a December, but I'm not going to.
Right. And if
I was going to come up with a really good excuse, and I can't.
People need to enjoy Christmas. And,
well, actually, it was going to be so you can enjoy Christmas. It was get really skinny so you can get really fat for a week and then get skinny again.
What for people that want to join it?
To be fair though, I just went on the we've just been on our winter. It's not a honeymoon, but it was. We went to Cyprus, went on to them all.
Sorry, how do you not go on a honeymoon and not?
Because we were supposed to go a bit further afield, but then with everything that's going on, it was easier not to go too far in case something kicks off. And went to all inclusive. I've never done all inclusive before. That is dangerous. It was fine until I realised you're allowed to go back.
Nice ice creams.
That was a game changer.
But I tell you what, my favourite thing ever about like an all exclusive was Macau, right? Basically, like a sweet and sour chicken with egg fried rice. That's what they have for breakfast. You're having a takeaway every morning. You're like, oh God, this is outstanding.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
Yeah, so all-inclusive is not the future mid-season.
And so
we're just waiting for the microphone to blow up again,
we're bringing that back in January. If people want to sign up, how do they do?
Just keep checking my socials and I will put something up, and then you'll just have to message me and it'll just be fun. The last one was just fun. It's people get worried and think that I'm going to kill him. That's not the idea. The plan is that everyone's different and got their own goals, and I'm just there to be supportive and have a good time.
Bearing in mind, if you are on the edge of a cardiac arrest, do not sign up. Because Christian will single-handedly finish you off.
But it's not, Chrissy, you did some of them, didn't you? And, it's literally do as much as you can, because everyone's different. So I try to make it all so it's not like you have to do X of these and X of those, because that doesn't work. Everyone's different. So
and also there was always like a hard option and an easy option. So like anyone could have. Yeah,
I tried to give like 3 options for each movement, so those with issues can switch around. Yeah. So just check my socials. The plan is to hopefully do it in January, a bit of a.
And if it's not all about the fitness, bear in mind you've adopted a lovely little dog called
Tyne,
right? I was crying the other day. Basically, the dog was struggling to have a shite, right?
I got wrong for putting that up on the internet.
Mate, don't you dare get told off again. You've got to keep putting things on like that. So basically, the dog's struggling like mad, right? It's hanging, right? And he's literally put quotations underneath going, I'm not picking it up, mate.
He's not picking it out. He was trying to pull the thing out. So the dog had been eating grass, because they eat grass, don't they, when they want to... I don't know why they eat grass. It had eaten grass. Yes. So obviously it had done half a poop, but there was still a bit of grass left in its belly and half of it hanging out with this massive Klingon. So So I was trying to hit it with a stick to try and get it off, and I couldn't. But it was as long as a leg. She's only a little terrier, so she had this extra leg that was flipping, hitting her from side to side. Oh, bless her. Oh, it was horrendous.
I was crying at it, man.
I got in trouble for putting that up.
Who off? The missus?
Off the boss, yeah.
Off the boss. There we go. God, but honestly,
I said it's your dog.
I was absolutely howling, mate. I was absolutely howling. I can just see it like any concerned human like that. I'll film this.
So we've got a few quick Patreon questions. First one, Dewey Williams. What mileage does he do on a push bike a year? Follow him on Strava, and his rides are, and like that emoji. Can anyone just follow you on Strava?
Yeah, I have to accept your request, but I don't turn anyone down. So I don't know why I haven't set to that.
So if people are on Strava, if they just type Christian in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Same one, actually. I'd spend a bit of time on Zwift, which is the indoor cycling app as well. I quite like those sort of things because that's nice to give a bit of you give a ride on. That's how it is.
Yeah. Also,
that's nice.
Anyone can jump on.
Yeah,
and
you
ride
can sort of
with you.
interact, and you see
Cool.
people, and you just it's cool.
There we go.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to join in, and
so I'm up to 17,500 kilometers this year.
Jesus, that's good going.
I tell you
I don't
what,
know what that is in miles.
If you ever consider you actually have the most talked about testicles in the paddock, you know what I mean? Because everyone who comes up and chats about this paddock, love the podcast.
Just over 10,000.
Christian
Is it
Iddon's
miles?
balls, frozen, hilarious. Everyone, you have the most talking about testicles in the paddock. It's fact.
Nice.
Digest that and let me know how you feel about it later on.
So
At least I'm talked about.
We've got Shirley Bimpson. Firstly, congratulations on your wedding to Nicola. Now here it says, pleased to hear you are staying with PBM for 2022. What's the plan of attack for next year? But as we've spoke about, that's not confirmed yet.
No, not confirmed yet. I don't really know what I can say, to be fair. Birdie had said on the tannoy at Brands that we're staying, myself and Josh. So, but as it stands right now, I don't really know what's occurring.
Right, fair enough. And we've got congrats on taking the fight for BSB 2021 all the way to the end, even better next year. You've gone from dirt to asphalt so successfully, but how do you approaches differ, Tar?
It's a good question, to be fair. I don't think the approach changes too much, does it? I mean, a race is a race. The way I saw it when I first changed was it was a bit like going from badminton to tennis. You know, like you've got a court, you've got a racket, you've got a ball or a shuttley thing. It's kind of the same game, but a little bit different.
Different technique.
Yeah. So that's how I approached it, and
I must thank you, by the way. I went and did Meti.
amazing, isn't it?
Mate, outstanding.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, it was the first time for me on a supermoto bike. Absolutely.
I did see some pictures, actually. I did see you looked all right.
It looked all right. He's bullshit. I look shite up better you lot, but there you go. Mate, I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I really want to go do a British. I made that sound really cocky there. No, I'd like to go do a British round to see I've done it, kind of thing. In this country.
You'd be competitive, no bother whatsoever.
You reckon?
Yeah. So the British Supermoto Championship it's basically there is only one club. So the British is club racing as well as British. So there's a class for everyone in it anyway. So it's not the end of the world. Yeah, and you'd be competitive enough.
There's the full spectrum from like entry level
Exactly.
to the best.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, going to British isn't like going to BSB terms, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'd be fine.
But Dean Livesey, DC Racing, he's been loaning me a 450, so I wonder if I can slide some supermoto wheels on that thing just to see how I get on with it. That would be a crack.
Now,
Dean, if you're listening, cheers, mate.
We've got, for people that are watching on YouTube, do you want to talk? This is this is the first one in the world. What do you think?
I was admiring it.
They are. So Flash from TT Cases there, he's put his thinking hat together.
There's a lot of hardware on that thing.
There's a lot.
Impressive.
There's a mighty weight about that, my man. But no, it's so we've got some new Dom the Bomb hats, and actually, I need to put the order. There you go. So Christian Iddon is modelling it here, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. I can't actually afford for him to put
warm
it
in
on
here. I don't think I
properly.
need it. But
Good man. There you are.
There you go.
That's
cool.
going to
It's
sell a
trees
few.
and that, isn't it?
It looks. I tell you. Wait, that's actually stemmed.
stemmed. I like it.
Hey, let's not branch out too many of these puns. You know what I mean? Chip off the old block and all
Let's
that.
leave it there. Surely this is going to stem into a different conversation.
Oh my god, here we go. So no, like that.
You're such a sap.
I've got nowhere to go with this now. I've got nowhere to go with this. On that note, buy a hat.
Are you selling them?
Yeah, so the idea is I'm going to get an order in. So no, Flash is kindly sorting that out.
How much are they?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
That is from China. So I have no idea how much it is, but I'm over the moon because you have to pay for like a sample, get it shipped over, and like I say, flash.
So people want them, do they just message you? Or?
Mate, I haven't even got that far down the road. I've literally got it out of your kitchen where it's got posted to, and then it's now Chris. It's escalated rapidly. To be fair, Christian Iddon's got it on and
speaking of
banging out puns. And...
woolly hat, we've got your little present there, Christian.
Oh yes,
that's for the winter.
It's coming into the season.
That's the one. Keep your looks.
Thank you.
Million miles there. There we go. Fantastic. So what else? What else have we got? Right. The irritating thing about this show is that we speak in the future and the past. Blah 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 blah. This weekend, new track, World Superbikes. Top Rack's currently pissing off into the... Well, hold on. Am I correct in saying he's pissing off?
No, did an FP1.
FP1.
By the time this podcast goes out Sunday night, so the championship will have been decided. So when people are listening to this, but as we record this,
a bit like that time when I said Mark Marquez was never going to win another race, and he won the next weekend at Saxon Ring. I should have omitted Saxon Ring or America. I should have said
discounted. Yeah.
No, let's not ruin it. What's your prediction? I just want to know whether this is going to be like a set thing from now on.
After FP1 and FP2, so Top Rack annihilated everyone in FP1, but then really close in FP2. I think Johnny missed half of FP1 through like some mechanical problem, but he was within a tenth and a half in FP2. So it's basically that, you know, there's a 30-odd point lead, I think, difference between Top Rack and Jonathan. All things being well, Top Rack should bring back the championship, but obviously with motorbike racing, anything can happen. If, say, Top Rack crashes in the first one, Jonathan wins, it's game on. But the most likely situation is Top Rack will win.
Yeah, pretty much where I see it, to be fair. 30 points is sizable, especially World Superbike. Yeah, they have 3 races, but the middle one's half points race, so it's not 75 like it would be at a BSB weekend. It's whatever it is. 50, 60, 65 or something, 62 and a half.
Yeah, 62 and a half, yeah.
So to do a half point swing, basically, he needs to score double the points as what Top Rack could potentially score. It's not easy, especially given that those two are not that they're head and shoulders above, you know, like Scott can be there, Gerloff can be there, Locatelli can be there. But within reason, you can't see either Johnny or Top Rack in a normal race finishing outside the top 5 or 6. So,
would you have liked to have, or it could potentially still happen, but would you like to see Taron McKenzie in World Superbikes next year?
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I would really love to. I think our current crop of, this is only a personal opinion, but I think our current crop of World Superbike riders has been there for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see some freshness going in there. Taron, a bit like what I said about Superstock should get a promotion up to Superbike. I think it would be nice to see a promotion from BSB to World Superbike or somewhere else, you know, like if Taron stays, not I feel sorry for him, but I think that's a shame.
It is a massive shame.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I know, I totally agree with that. It is like you just want to see that natural progression. You need to dangle the carrot for career riders.
And the rumour is that he's probably staying. And certainly at the point that he's at in his career, you know, he's reasonably young, so moving soon is imperative, I think.
Yeah, of course it is. Especially after what you've achieved this year.
So yeah, it's a shame, especially because it seems like there's a few Brits going out of it, and I do think we needed to lose a few Brits out of World Superbike to open it up as a more multinational championship, because I think it's been a bit too British
heavy.
Yeah. A bit like how MotoGP is a bit Italian Spanish heavy. I think, you know, World Superbike's a bit too Brit heavy. So yeah, with a few moving out potentially, it would have been really nice to see Taron step up.
Yeah. It's mad when you think as well, internationally, you would, like, say if you were Spanish, you'd probably look at World Superbikes and you would think, oh, it's Brit heavy.
British enough.
You'd probably think it's Brit heavy, therefore it's going to be like a massive sport in Britain, and like everyone's going to be...
And it's not.
And if you look at, like, say, when World Superbikes is at, say, Donington, the attendance is lower than a BSB round. It's not really like... I mean, it's quite strongly followed, but I wouldn't say like particularly strong.
I do like actually I think World Superbike in the last couple of years has really upped its game.
Definitely.
I think they've really done a good job bringing in different riders from a few different championships.
I think Redden's got a fair bit to sort of thank for that. I think he brought something to the championship.
Yeah. And I think even media-wise, they've upped their game that way. I think the production values are... I know it's all little things, but it adds up massively. You know, World Superbike always, the production values always seemed dead poor previously. You know, it was just like... like I'd put it together on my laptop or something. You know, like it was just like, really?
Yeah.
Now it's slick.
Yeah.
And the depth of field is improving. I don't ever think that the rider depth of field was a problem, but I think the bike depth of field made it look weak.
Yeah.
Because there was such a difference in bikes that if you're on a good one, no matter how good or bad you are, that's fine. And if you're on a bad one, no matter how good or bad you are, you're out the back door. Anyway.
Yeah, I've just thought as well, since you've last been on the podcast, you've headlined the Eurosport couch.
Yeah.
And I've got to say as well, like, obviously it's like something most people would find a bit out of the comfort zone doing something like that, being like in the middle of the city sort of to discuss World Superbikes. You were like so at ease and like you did boss it. You did a great job.
I'm not being funny, but 4 times on the show, Chris.
Yeah, it's all this experience. Yeah.
You're going to bill me next, aren't you? Work experience.
Don't worry, the invoice is already in the post. The second you pulled up on the drive, it's delivered.
How was the experience? Did you enjoy it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the whole thing. I mean, like, you know, how could you not? I watched motorbikes and then I talked about motorbikes and then they give you some dosh at the end of it and put you up in a nice hotel, you know, like, what's not to like? Literally, it's fantastic.
We're going wrong, Chrissy.
No, honestly, it is, and I really enjoyed it, and
yeah.
probably made all the better by the fact that Matt Roberts is, I don't know, you guess the anchorman or whatever, you know, I think it's the anchorman.
Yeah.
But so personable, a great bloke. He put me at ease because I think he, you know, it's them little cues. He knows what goes on, so he sort of knows how to give you not the wink, but you know, like, so you know that you're going to talk next or whatever it is, you know, because it's not simple. And you know, you have the earpiece in and you have someone talking in your ear, and I only had one person talking in my ear, and then between one of the things they said, "Oh, do you want to hear what Matt hears?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, crack on." And honestly, like, the amount of things going on in his earpiece as he's doing a piece to camera, you know, they're talking in his ear going like, what's coming up next, you know, like, you need to talk about the Roland Garros and it's going to be on Eurosport 2 at whatever time and you've got 3 seconds to do it, and it's, you know, and they're counting him, someone else is counting him in and someone else is counting him into the next one, you know, like, and he's got 4 people in, and like when he did it to me, I was just listening and thinking, I need to say something, you know, like, because you can't process. It's incredible.
And at the same time, you're on camera speaking about something, taking that information in, but without like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a really impressive skill. So yeah, I think it was made even more enjoyable by Matt putting me at ease. I was on there with Hayden, who's, you know, good fella. So yeah, it was a really, really enjoyable experience and something I would really like to do again. They did actually offer me a chance again. But we were at Guy's motocrossing, so I couldn't do it that weekend.
Have you seen the track recently?
Amazing.
By the way, this is a stag do he's talking about, so something pretty crucial. It wasn't like you were just nipped down the road. You know? I was already committed to stag doing.
Yeah. But yeah, I would. It was something. It was. I hope I get the chance again because I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It's nice. Like I said, you watch motorbikes and you talk about it. What could be better than that?
There we are.
Mega. Well, I've sort of wrapped up all of my questions. Have you got anything?
No. Congratulations.
Hey, what about the end of? Have you spoken about MotoGP?
No, I'm wrapped up MotoGP. Do you know what?
We've had the end of a season.
Yeah, go on. You watched the MotoGP thing from last week, didn't you?
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah, I've missed the last few MotoGPs. I've been like out doing various things and I haven't really
networking.
Hold
on. Your hero is like, you didn't watch his last race?
No, I was actually flat tracking on that race. I did watch it on catch up, and like we can't not mention it. Like obviously Rossi's last ever Grand Prix is like proper. Yeah, honestly for me, like I know it's a bit sad, but since Rossi hasn't had a chance of being like on the podium ever since then, for me, like it's like massively lost something.
I mean, what made it? They had Stoner on at the weekend, commentating and punditing, and well, he knows the score, doesn't he? So what I quite liked about Stoner, I didn't like most of his stuff, but what I did like, he's very honest and abrupt. He's kind of not into. It seems like he's not into racing at all anymore, and he was quite honest about that. They were like, "Do you watch it anymore?" No. Like, okay, this will be a good rest of the weekend.
He didn't obviously have any earpieces. I'm not accepting those.
No.
Cut.
But yeah, when you think of things like, he's one thing that just struck home was he said, "Oh, I used to watch Rossi as I was coming up through the ranks, and then
Jesus.
did my thing, and then raced against him, and then retired, and has been retired for, Stoner's been retired a fair few years, and if you think, Stoner watched him at his height, or at least when he was coming in his ascendancy, Rossi that is, and then, other riders have started their career, done it, and then gone back out again, and they were going the amount of riders in MotoGP today that weren't even born when Rossi started his first race in MotoGP, or 500s, whenever it was back then. So, it was like half the field weren't even born, or whatever it was. It was
Jesus.
ridiculous.
How damaging, in your opinion, lads, is it going to be for motorcycle racing? Every man and his dog across the planet has heard of Valentino Rossi. You know what I mean? He's like the Nick. He's the loud.
He's the new Barry Sheen, isn't he?
We're not even. He's bigger than Barry Sheen. You know what? He's such an iconic name in sport, not motorsport, in sport in general. Can you see a bit of
the huge boots to fill, aren't they?
They're massive, but in the same breath, do you think that's going to be a little bit more damaging to motorsport now that he's gone? Well,
I think there's two things at play. One is the fact that Marquez is currently a bit unsure because he's hurt him. Well, his eyes got a problem again, which is an old injury from I think 10 years ago. So he's even already they're talking that he's in doubt for next season. So those sort of injuries, you don't know. It's not a bone. It's not something that. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it seems like it's one of them that
telescopes.
And maybe one day I'll wake up and it's gone, or maybe one day I'll wake up and it won't be gone. So I don't really know. I'm sure they're trying to fix it, but that could be a big what's it. So obviously Marquez is such a huge profile as well, and quite a strong character. Because you sort of need those strong characters. I think that was the shame for Joan Mir never really, I don't believe, got the adoration or accolades because he's a more quiet character than
he won
the quiet world champion.
But
if you say Joan Mir to most people,
it'll go over the head.
Well, as you say Rossi, of course, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Or Marquez, a completely different thing. So if they lose Rossi and Marquez, I think that could be a difficult thing.
Massive blow at the sport.
Yeah.
Huge.
The only other way to think of it is to think positively, and you go, well, Rossi has brought the motorcycling into a whole new realm.
That's what I mean.
So let's just be appreciative of what he's brought to it. And even if it does start to decline, it was never at that point before him anyway. So if he never existed, think of it as if he never existed, then it would already be lower.
Oh, 100%.
So you've not lost, you've gained.
But we will think like that. This is beyond, Rossi for us. This is how we want to live our lives. We are incredibly biased, even if we're trying not to be. That's a period fact. But you're trying to think of Bobby who only likes going for a couple of pints kind of thing. Things, you know what I mean? It's that kind of. Is Bobby going to multiply because he hasn't got a
That is the
to
thing.
bounce off,
if you talk to someone that you've never met, you meet someone not in the pub because I don't drink, but you meet someone somewhere
twice a year.
A year, I go to the pub and I say, and they go, "Oh, what do you do?" And I go, "Oh, I race motorbikes." And they go, "Oh, do you know Rossi?"
That's what I mean. That's exactly it, though, isn't it?
They don't say, "Do you know Pecco Bagnaia?" Do they?
No, well,
like how we chopped the name drop in there, like we don't. All right.
It's that thing about not real bike fans, but just people who
the everyday.
follow.
That's what I mean. It's.
I tell you what, got a good. I read a stat actually, and I'm going to see if either of you can answer it. So there's only one rider in the Rossi's entire career in the top flight, so 500s or MotoGP, whichever one it is. There's only one rider who's Rossi's never beaten.
Oh, there's a question,
It's a good
kids. There'll be people listening to this on the road pulling over.
Was it?
I think it was this year.
Oh, this year.
I think it was this year. That's not a bad shout, actually. You were going to say Bayliss, weren't you?
I was, because he did that
Very
one
good
ride,
shout.
didn't
Did he do more? He did more, though, didn't he? He did a season, didn't he?
Right, okay.
I like the idea, though.
He's the only one I could... So
do you know the answer, by the way?
Yeah.
Thank God, because the way you're...
There's one rider...
Oh, it's going to be a pretty damp squid if at the end of it I go, no, I don't need either.
That's what I mean. I'm thinking, I know. I'm thinking, how the hell are we going to get around this?
Is it like one of the rookies from this year?
It's a standing rider. And I think
Martin?
And I think it was Assen.
No. No,
I haven't really followed MotoGP that closely.
I cannot remember.
Gerloff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Garrett Gerloff's the only person Valentino Rossi's never beaten, because I think Gerloff only did one race or two races.
I would have that framed.
And he beat him. Well, I've never got beaten by Valentino Rossi.
There you are, get it framed.
Have you you once
Raced
did
him,
that?
no.
No, really.
I still get it framed. Still get it framed.
You once did that supermoto thing
Yeah.
with like loads. There was MotoGP riders there,
Yeah.
wasn't there? And you blitzed everyone.
Yeah, I didn't blitz everyone, but yeah, I am 1-0 on Valentino.
Get in.
Who was there? Some top riders. Wasn't
Yeah,
there?
Dovi was there, Biaggi was there. There was loads and loads.
I've just seen a
was
timesheet on like Facebook.
Yeah, it's
so
cool.
maybe
It's a
you were
really
first,
cool timesheet.
And then like loads of MotoGP riders and like top like names. Well, was that just like a one-off event or something?
It was actually a Simoncelli event.
All right.
So they did it.
Like a memorial thing.
Yeah, memorial thing. Actually, it got canned because there was another incident at one of the events, so it got canned because of it. So it's flipping.
God's sake.
It's a shame.
I know I'm supposed to be like really on the pulse, like doing the podcast every week and like talking about bike racing, but I was down at North Yorkshire the other day and they were talking about the minimum age in Moto3 being raised to 18 sometime soon.
Mhm.
Is that a fact?
I don't know if it's 18, but they're definitely raising it.
So
So
said to 16 and then 18 the following year? Is that?
and I think what they're trying to do is they've got to phase it in as well. So actually, I think they've got a problem in the midterm, because what's happening is they're trying to rush kids in now early.
Mm.
So before the rule comes in, I think they're trying to rush them through.
Oh,
So they're
Jesus, that's
actually,
gonna
I
be
think
a
they've
problem.
actually made a bit more of a, so if they've got these younger kids,
It's going to get worse.
we're
before
gonna
it gets better.
it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right. But the plan is to get to 18 as a minimum age from World Championship.
I don't know exactly what it is, but there's definitely, it's coming in. It's also coming in for Moto3 Junior World Championship, which is the Spanish Championship, but it's not. It is called the Junior World Championship, so they phase it in.
And that's going to have the same age.
I think that's going to be slightly younger,
Right.
but basically, I think they're going to make it like a stepping stone system.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this year it's been a bit rough in, there's been a few bad accidents and fatalities and stuff. So, and sadly, I mean, it's all sad, but they've involved really young people. So it's that's a hard one to understand what's for the best or not.
Yeah.
You get these super talents, and by stopping it, do you prevent these super talents? Like Acosta would have been, I think, wouldn't have been able to race in the new rules. Even taking it out of our sport, do you then have to do it in other sports? Like Ken Rocks, and I follow motocross and supercross. He was world champion at 15. Like if you can do that sort of thing, then do you lack the same mental capacity? I don't know. Or not mental capacity, but the same experience, so you don't have the same thought process of what is risky or not
And
risky.
is it an age problem, or is it something else that's at cause, for these accidents? And like, for example, if you do go down that route and like say
you can't
take the
put a pin
minimum
in it.
Yeah.
take the minimum age to 18, and then we'll have, so they're all like 19, 20 and 21, and then we'll have a few more accidents where people get fatalities. I think it's a very difficult topic.
People have grown up a lot more by then.
Yeah, but it's so difficult, isn't it? Because it depends if you're still. I don't know what the rules are exactly, but if you're still racing and gaining the experience, it's no point if you just say you're not allowed to race until a certain point, because then you're still as green as you would have been if you're 18 and green instead of 15 and green.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real difficult one, and most accidents are freak accidents, and I don't think age had a great deal of influence on the ones that I've witnessed from afar.
Racing's racing at any age, isn't it?
We have discussed this as well, but I do feel the 300 class is unnecessarily dangerous because the bikes are so
100%.
so easy to ride and therefore and so similar.
Yeah.
It then makes you've
everyone
got to be
on superbikes.
dangerous. Yeah, you've got to be dangerous.
I mean,
to be competitive.
And the most that I watched that 300 class was actually when I did the commentary that you spoke about, and there is 3 or 4 riders in that class that are much better than the rest, and they were always at the front of the field, but they could never break away from the riders that have probably got far less talent and never going to be any good, really, in real terms. And yet they're spending an entire race dicing with them, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, because of the slipstream.
Yeah, so it's kind of a stupid thing. So what we're essentially saying is we should put them on faster, harder to ride bikes, and that'll make it safer.
100%. Yeah.
A bit like the thought process of if the safest way to make our sport safer is to make us all race with no helmets, and then we'll go slower.
Yeah.
It's the same as
It's
the safest way.
counterintuitive, but yeah.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but it's so hard to find a way to fix the issue. I think.
Yeah.
And are we going to lose these wonder kids? Because now everyone's trying to do the wonder kid, aren't they? You know, like
they're pushing everyone early. Championships. Yeah.
So we've got obviously Pedro Costa wrapped up the Moto3 Championship. We've
amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. Do you know, talking about shoes to fill as a next superstar in MotoGP, he's the only one that I can see that I think that kid's got something very special.
What was super impressive with Pedro, I mean, Foggia really had a good go at him. Dennis Foggia was impressive as well. But Pedro Acosta just does things with a Moto3 bike that you don't see, like spinning it up. Like the thing's got about 4 horsepower. Like how do you spin up a bike with so little horsepower? It wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding in real terms.
Imagine what he's going to be like on Moto2.
Yeah. You know, like that's something else, and the way that he brakes is so deep and late, and so that was what happened at the weekend. Foggia had to beat him by a few places, tried to outbrake the master of braking. And took Acosta down and ran himself wide, which was very frustrating because I had money on both of them.
Have you done well with your gambling this year?
I did until the last couple of rounds, and I got all like flutter happy with people that had no chance whatsoever. But I'm up.
Oh, good.
The gambling addiction strong.
Remy Gardner, Moto2's very strong year, and him and Raul Fernandez both stepping up into MotoGP as rookies. List off the other rookies that are going to be in MotoGP next year.
There's Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's come up from Moto2.
Well said, that man. Well done. There you are.
Practiced it.
Good man.
Darren Binder. So that one, there is a bit of controversy about him. A lot of controversy. Again, bit like we spoke about, but when is too soon? The only other rider I think ever that's gone from Moto3 to MotoGP is Jack Miller. So if you go off form and history,
never
didn't work out too badly. But I think there's two sides to every argument, and most people, from what I can word on the street, is that Darren isn't in the same situation as what Jack was. Darren's not had the best of seasons.
Do you know when you think how many people line up on the MotoGP grid?
Yeah, 22,
24,
22.
How many brothers is there?
There's the Marquezes, the Espargaros, and the Binders.
Rossi and his stepbrother.
Well, there was, yeah. So next year it would have been 4 sets of brothers.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it? Like 8 out of 22 are brothers. That's
some good genes.
It is mad though, isn't it? And I think, and I'm pretty sure ones have got brothers in the other classes as well. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but yeah, it's a very.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? And as a percentage of the entry.
And I'm not too sure if
Chris,
it's
you need to
genes
find the right sister.
I'm not too sure if it's genes or if it's opportunity as well. Like I think a lot of it can be for example, Marc Marquez is when he started winning Spanish championships and getting like good teams in MotoGP. His brother then always has the best opportunities and the best rides and stuff. I mean, come through.
Funny you should say it. But at the moment, they've got that situation with Raul Fernandez. So Raul Fernandez has stepped up into MotoGP with KTM. So Raul Fernandez in Moto2 this year he's actually beaten Marc Marquez's statistic of the most wins in a rookie season. So even though he didn't win the title, which Marquez did in his first season of Moto2, Raul Fernandez had more wins than Marc Marquez did. Did he not win it?
I don't think Marc did in his first year because he did his second year and won it.
Right.
His first year, did he not have the eyesight problem?
That might have been it then.
Yeah.
But so Fernandez has had more wins than what Marc had in his first year. And so he stepped up to MotoGP. So he actually started a really knee-jerk reaction from everyone because they realised that Fernandez was super fast. So they signed him up really, really early and then had to promote Gardner as well. So that meant that Lecuona and Petrucci had to leave before they thought that it was their time. Petrucci is now going to do the Paris-Dakar, which is quite an interesting thing. Yeah. Really interesting. That's cool. What a nice fella he is. Don't really know him, but he seems a nice fella from the outside. Does crying and stuff, doesn't he? He's really nice.
He did great. Do you know when he won that race and he was like crying and saying stuff about his mum and that? It was mint.
And then on the grid interview, he was in tears and he was just. It's funny. He's just so grateful for life. It's just really nice to see. And then Lecuona, who has been actually really, really impressive. Had a terrible start to the year, and now he's signed for Honda in World Superbike, so that'll be a good move. But yeah, for brothers, Raul Fernandez has got a brother, Adrian Fernandez, I think it is, who races Moto3, and has really struggled in his rookie season, which I think most of them do because it's a hard championship. But he's now got the KTM, factory KTM for next year. So he's sort of, a bit like you were saying, maybe Alex got a few better deals because of Mark. It seems like Ralph Fernandez, his brother, has got a nice little...
Yeah. Or
not a free ticket, but
if you take
someone he knows.
If you take Rossi's stepbrother, for example, like there's if you think of how many people in the world have had the same opportunity to get to MotoGP.
Yeah. Well, and Luca Marini, I remember Luca Marini when he came into it, and he was a full-blown backmarker the first season in Moto2. Like, full-blown backmarker. But, fair play, he's fast as now, but you know what I mean? You're true that had that been someone else, maybe he wouldn't have got the second season and therefore not had the opportunity to continue to develop. So it's an interesting one, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's fast seeds or whether it is...
fast seeds.
or whether it's opportunity.
But there's the title for the episode. There, Iddon's fast seeds.
And all of your titles seem to have some sort of innuendo going on. Like when
it's not even me. I don't even do innuendo.
Fast seeds.
So
Anyway,
that's MotoGP.
Yeah, wraps up MotoGP. Obviously, whoever.
Oh, and Rossi, by the way, that was the only thing I was disappointed at. Like Rossi's known for his celebrations.
Yeah,
it was really
just pulled in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you very much.
It's odd.
Expecting like the firework to go off of his arse or something.
No, but like it's one of the things he's known for, isn't it? All the cool celebrations that he did back in the day. More obviously because he could. I mean, he was winning that much that he'd had them planned. Like it gets to a point where maybe we're not going to win this weekend, so he didn't have one planned, but he knew he was going to retire. It was kind of odd. He sort of shook everyone's hand and cuddled everyone, and then went in the garage and jumped around.
Must have
been upsetting.
It's sort of classy though, and in a sense, he maybe thought to himself like it's other people like sort of Quartararo's time and this time, and like sort of didn't want to take the limelight away from the new generation, so could sort of see it as classy. But
and he did sign off with the top 10, which is very impressive.
Yeah,
he was within 10 seconds of the win in his last race in the dry, or whatever it is. It was
phenomenal,
impressive. As
you definitely wouldn't want to be in front or behind Rossi at that situation because, quite frankly, you don't want to get in his way if he's going to make a move, and then you don't want to be the guy behind him trying to make a move on Rossi and take him out in his final race.
Can you imagine taking him down?
Imagine it. You just... there wouldn't be a place to hide, would there? There wouldn't be. So it was a nice big gap for him out, and I thought, yeah, let's just ride out the storm here. You know what I mean? Part of me was hoping everyone would just pull over and let him win.
Well, so did I, because talking of betting, I did put a couple of quid on.
Literally £2.
Yeah.
I did have a stinky suspicion that they were going to give him some like mega tires.
Yeah, he was 150 to 1, and I thought, well, if they pull over,
imagine it.
Do you know what I mean? There was talk of it.
I bet. Imagine it.
Yeah, there was talk of it. I didn't think it was going to happen, but for
because the championship had been decided as well, and if everyone else stayed in the same positions, it would have been
just let him through.
Yeah, it would have been.
It's on £2 down.
Cheers, Dora. Straight off the bat. There we go. So, really, it's a case of, yet again, thank you for coming on the show. I must get this in before I leave. Thank you so much to Tina Hill, who always listens to all the shows. So she's been in touch, and can't thank her enough. Really cannot. Any other plugs from you, lads?
I've got a quick plug. Thank you to Greenfields for my new T-shirt. I've went down to the Greenfield flat track down.
Seen a few pictures of a few people down there.
Have you been?
No, I've not been there. No.
I bet you're good at it. But I tell you what, everyone does say you must see Christian Iddon or Supermoto. I think I would love to see that one.
Similar discipline, isn't it?
Similar, but I've had a go at flat track and I was pretty pony.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Nah, not for long. I tell you what, give him. Come on, you're a competitive lad.
I am competitive, but I did an event called the Super Prestigio a couple of years.
You lucky son! That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, which was a short track event with, Marquez and all them boys.
How do you get invited? You have to be fast.
I don't know how I got invited actually. I think I just fluked into it. Yeah, from the Supermoto days.
Struggled.
Yeah, really struggled. Really, I was in the last chance qualifier and I actually wiped Alex Rins out big time because it was either him or me, and it was neither of us in the end.
My God.
I was straight behind with half a straight to go. I figured I'm gonna have a go at this.
Good
I didn't
lad.
shut off into the last corner.
That's
Proper hit him, like T-boned him big time. You're in Spain. We just took out Alex Rins.
That has got to be on YouTube somewhere, is it?
It probably is.
We'll
somewhere.
have to dig deep into that one.
It was bad.
I tell you, you going to the NEC, lads? Any?
I think so. I'm looking to go final weekend on this. I'm at a wedding on the Saturday, but I'm planning on going
Yours?
the Sunday. Wedding? No. Different.
No.
Well, there's a BSB day, isn't there? I think it's the 10th.
Is that the last? It's either usually the last Saturday or the last Sunday. Usually they do BSB and then a roads.
I've got 10th in my head. I might be
There's
wrong.
no word of the roads. Roads haven't happened, have they, this year? So
Looking ahead for next year, I
yeah,
think.
but they haven't actually talked about it though. I was on the phone to Paul Wheatley, NGK. There you go. He was saying they actually haven't announced anything regarding the roads.
Right.
I read something about that Isle of Wight thing falling on Rocky.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't know what's going on with that at all. I have no idea. But like you say, we haven't heard anything, so balls. Until we hear something, then we can report on it.
Well, I'll be down the NEC on the BSB day, whenever that is. I think it's somewhere around the 10th, but don't exactly quote me on it.
There we go.
Because I might not be there.
And are you going down as well?
Well, I'm definitely not, because I'm doing the Winter Series motocross at Dunbar. There's an event called, anyway, I'll have to put it online or something like that, but there's this Winter Series, but it's not flat track. I always get this wrong, so it's motocross flat track, so there's no jumps. It's a motocross track with no jumps, and I'm off to do that, so I think there's 4 rounds of that.
Oh, is it in like Barley Stubblefield type racing?
Aye.
There's one on this.
That's
I
Sunday.
mean, like it.
There's one at Pickering this weekend with the Pickering District Motocross Club, whatever. But then this one's up at Dunbar, Scotland, so like Sundays only. So I'll be going up there with Sugar Tits. Do you remember Sugar Tits?
Yeah.
Thank God, he'll be loving that. He'll be listening to this, jumping on the spot. So yeah, going up with Sugar Tits and Little Cube there.
I'm actually going to Sugar Tits' house now to go and pick up a little mini motocross bike.
It never stopped.
At Greenfields, they've got a flat track, but they've also got a mini motocross track and a mini bike supercross track as well.
So is that what you're going riding?
Yeah. So I think the motocross track's open like through the day, and then the flat track's open 2:30 till 7:30, like under the floodlights tomorrow. So I'm heading down there in the morning.
Mega.
So yeah, we're getting as much riding in as I can. I've seen these hands all blistered up.
Is it on for from 2:30 onwards?
2:30 till 7:30 under the floodlights. Are you going to try
make that now.
finish work early? Right. Well,
Do you know why I'm going to work tomorrow? Right,
To earn money?
Mickley, do you know Mickley?
Oh,
on
where?
the way up, right? There's a first school on the right hand side. They've got a kid in the school who's allergic to nuts, and they're asking me to take down a 100-year-old walnut tree. Bearing in mind they're encased in like you can't get into them to actually get the nut. You really can't. You have to.
Can't they just tell him to stay away from the walnut tree?
No, but it's essentially suicide. If that kid tried to eat that nut, that would have been the effort he would have gone to get the actual nut out of the walnut would have been beyond. And I'm the head teacher has gone. We have to take the tree out.
Oh.
How many kids with nut allergies have passed through that school in 100 years? And I've got to go.
Well,
take
they're all
this tree
dead
down.
now, so.
Well, apparently not. But this is the first one. The world's gone bloody up the left, man, hasn't it? Anyway, that's my little rant over. Sorry.
Not allergies are actually on the rise over like the last 100 years, and it's because in midwives advise people not to eat nuts when
So they
they're
don't build up
pregnant.
to what's it?
So they don't build up immunity. So therefore, if your mum doesn't eat nuts when you're in the womb. We've got our title. Yeah. We've got our title.
How did you come about when my mum was eating nuts?
Yeah. So yeah,
Fast seeds come from good nuts. So, you know, what can we say?
yeah. If your mum doesn't eat nuts anyway, through your pregnancy, you're more likely to have a nut allergy, and therefore
It makes sense.
People, there's sometimes when you go on flights, you can't even actually have a packet of nuts.
Yeah,
It gets
my cousin's the same. My cousin's got a severe nut allergy, so yeah.
It's because his mum didn't eat nuts when she was
Yeah,
pregnant.
so you have to. If she goes on a plane, they have to tell everyone, and they're not allowed to have them. Whatever it is, proper.
Yeah, it goes in the air conditioning. And, yeah, it's
But I
proper
bet she
severe.
doesn't shit herself when she sees a walnut tree, though.
No, probably not.
Exactly. There you go.
Go to a different
World's
school.
gone. Touche. But anyway, so we've been trying to wrap this up for ages now. This is your problem. You're just too easy to talk to, you Eurosport presenter. You.
Have a great Christmas. I hope
Jesus,
everything
don't
gets...
say
I'll be
that.
back before then.
Don't say, I know he's on bloody commission.
I get paid
isn't he?
next
That's
time.
That's exactly it.
Have a great, a couple of months. Looking for the fitness challenge in January in the new year, and we'll keep in touch, and I'm sure we'll be like out doing something soon.
Defo.
Out used
Spot
to
on,
on the
lads.
motocross bike soon. But massive thank you to all of our patrons and to our sponsor Colchester Kawasaki, and look forward to catching up soon. Thanks very much.
See you in a bit.
Later.
See you.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.